Chapter 16:13. Zhao Fu sat cross-legged on the ground and activated the Rat Spirit Jade's power. The Rat Spirit Jade gave off an intense green light and slowly fused into Zhao Fu's body. Zhao Fu absorbed this power, and his skin became green. The green orb of light gradually dimmed, and the eyeball within started to struggle within Zhao Fu's body. A black flame covered it and slowly melted it. Zhao Fu once again felt a pain on his back as an azure rat folk totem appeared on Zhao Fu's back. After dealing with this matter, Zhao Fu and his group continued onwards. Their destination was Outlander 10 College, and it was almost time for the recruitment. They would have to hurry for a while, but this place was not too far from Outlander 10 College, so it would not be a problem to hurry there. They continued onwards and came to a kingdom called the Elephant Kingdom. The people here were all tall and muscular, and they had the heads of elephants and bodies of humans. Their skin was rough, and they had tusks in their mouths. All of them gave off an oppressive aura and were not weak at all. Zhao Fu sat by the window and looked at the scenery outside. The city here was quite special, as it was within a forest. However, there were not many trees, and the city and the forest seemed to have fused together. It was quite interesting and gave off a green aura. Looking at the city in front of him, Zhao Fu felt that he quite liked this type of city, and he could consider building a city like this in Qin City after going back. At that moment, Zhao Fu saw a group of elephant people gathering, and he got off the carriage with interest. He followed the elephant people over and saw countless people gathered around an altar, and there was a little orc lying on the altar. The little orc was only 6 or 7 years old, and his face was pale as he lay on the altar in pain, as if he was suffering from some sort of illness. Zhao Fu asked the elephant people next to him what had happened. The elephant people here were quite friendly and quickly told Zhao Fu what he wanted to know. It turned out that countless elephant people had come to pray for the little elephant prince, hoping to use prayer power to reduce the little prince's pain. They would also summon an elephant god to heal the little prince and suppress the bloodline curse. This bloodline curse was a curse cast by an incredibly powerful evil god. Because the Elephant Kingdom's king had great enmity with this powerful evil god, the curse was placed on the king's favorite prince. This bloodline curse would cause great pain, and there was no way to get rid of it from the inside out. It would not kill the host, and because it was a bloodline curse, the children that the little prince gave birth to in the future would also carry this curse. The Elephant Kingdom was a royal kingdom, and as a royal kingdom in the heaven domain, it was more than 10 times more powerful than a royal kingdom in the inner domain. Zhao Fu naturally did not dare to do anything rashly. The elephant people's prayer power was similar to faith blessing power and could weaken the curse's power. As the elephant people prayed, the little prince's pain decreased. An elephant person priest covered with all sorts of wooden ornaments walked up to the altar and came to the little prince's side. He raised his wooden staff and chanted a mysterious incantation, causing the surrounding trees to give off waves of green aura and gather. Countless traces of green aura condensed in the sky, forming a green orb that gave off a powerful aura as it rushed into the sky. Boom! The sky trembled as a massive might spread out in the sky, and countless traces of green light flowed out, dyeing the sky green. A massive figure slowly descended from the sky. This figure was an elephant person and was 10 meters tall. He had the head of an elephant and the body of a human. His skin was green, and he had jade-like tusks. He held a wooden staff and gave off a powerful godly spirit aura. This elephant god was a clone, and godly spirits that descended like this were usually godly spirits from the godly world. Believer, why have you summoned our god? The elephant god in the sky gave off a massive might as it corroded the countless people below, and it gave off a massive and dignified voice. An elephant person wearing a crown came up and bowed as he said, "Elephant god, my prince has been cursed by a powerful evil god. My prince has been cursed by a powerful evil god. Please remove this curse, and we will worship you even more." Hearing this, the elephant god looked at the little elephant person at the center of the altar. It raised a hand, and heaven and earth power quickly gathered, causing a terrifying power to spread out. Boom! The elephant god pressed down with its hand, causing it to give off an intense green light before sending down a green pillar of light that landed on the little prince's body. Powerful green divine power started to fuse into the little elephant person's body, dispelling the bloodline curse, and traces of blood-red aura came out of the little elephant person's body. Seeing that the curse was dispelled, the elephant people all relaxed and smiled. They felt that the elephant god would most likely be able to dispel the little prince's bloodline curse. Suddenly, a large amount of blood-red aura flowed into the little prince's body and flooded out like a flood, and an evil power flowed out. This change caused everyone present to feel quite startled, and they had a bad feeling. Sensing this evil power, the elephant god's expression fell, and it exploded out with even more godly spirit power, causing the light in its hand to become even brighter. Boom! The elephant god stretched out his hand and once again pressed down, causing a massive explosion to ring out as an even more powerful green light landed on the little prince's body. Art! The little prince cried out in pain as even more blood-red aura flowed out. This blood-red aura condensed into a scaled blood-red hand image in front of the little prince, and an even more evil power exploded out. Seeing that blood-red hand image, the elephant god's expression became serious as it withdrew its power, and the blood-red hand image turned into countless traces of blood-red aura and entered the little prince's body. The elephant god looked at the elephant person king and said, "Do you have great enmity with this evil god? He's actually willing to sacrifice an arm to cast a bloodline curse. This bloodline curse has already fused with your prince's bloodline, and even I am unable to dispel it. If I forcefully dispel it, your little prince might immediately die." The elephant person king's expression was quite unsightly as he hurriedly asked the elephant god, "Glorious elephant god, is there any other way to dispel this curse?" The elephant god thought for a moment before saying, "This is actually a bloodline curse. If you can find someone with an extremely high-grade bloodline to dispel this curse, it might be able to dispel it. However, as a godly spirit bloodline, it is already extremely high-grade, and ordinary royal or emperor bloodlines are useless. You need to ask an emperor to dispel this curse for your prince." Chapter 16:14. In front of an empire, a kingdom was not even worth mentioning. Moreover, those emperors were all high and mighty, and mortals could not even blaspheme them. How could he ask an emperor to help his son dispel the bloodline curse? Moreover, an emperor could dispel the curse, but it was not 100% certain. If he wanted more chances, he would have to have a high-grade bloodline. In other words, he needed a top-tier sovereign bloodline, but that was impossible. After all, those with such bloodlines were already at the peak of the world, and the faction behind them was one of the top factions in the world. Facing such a terrifying person, even the elephant god would have to kneel and pay his respects. How could he dispel his son's curse? The elephant god did not say anything else, and his body gradually disappeared in the sky. Next to the elephant king, a woman thought about the immense pain her son would have to suffer every day, and his children would suffer as well, and she started to cry in pain. The other elephant people all looked quite grim and sorrowful. As subjects of the elephant kingdom, they naturally did not want their beloved and respected little prince to end up like this. They would feel quite sad as well. However, even the elephant king did not have the ability to dispel the curse. So how could they dispel it? It was useless even if they prayed to the gods. An old elephant man clasped his hands together in grief. He knelt on the ground and prayed, "Great God, great ancestors, please save our little prince. He is the future of our elephant kingdom." Hearing that, the others could not help but kneel on the ground. Just like the old elephant person, they interlaced their fingers and put their palms together, making a praying gesture. A young elephant person cried out, "Glorious godly spirit, glorious ancestor, please save our little prince. I will believe in you for the rest of my life and fight for you until the last drop of my blood." An old woman who also looked quite old said with tears in her eyes, "Great God, great ancestor, I will use all of my time to pray to you. I will believe in you with all my heart. Please save our prince." A muscular elephant person woman also cried out, "Glorious godly spirit, glorious ancestor, please save our little prince. I am willing to offer my virginity to you and remain pure for the rest of my life." The elephant people knelt on the ground and prayed, but there was no response. Facing this bloodline curse, they could not dispel it. The elephant empress cried out bitterly. Seeing the countless elephant people praying below, she could not help but feel moved by the elephant people's actions, and she completely lost control of her emotions. The elephant king felt quite uncomfortable and tears danced in his eyes. Looking at the little prince's pained expression, the elephant king decided to go and find the emperor. If it was impossible, he would let that evil god do whatever he wanted to him and get rid of the curse. The surroundings were filled with a sorrowful and heavy atmosphere, causing one's heart to feel heavy and somewhat comfortable. Anyone who saw such a scene would not feel good. "I might be able to help." A voice that wasn't very loud resounded in the arena, but it was like a huge rock falling into the water, creating a huge wave. The gazes of the countless people present were all focused on Zhao Fu at this moment. Facing these gazes, Zhao Fu calmly stood there, his expression not changing at all. The elephant people could sense that Zhao Fu only had harmony realm cultivation, and they all looked at him in disbelief. They were not sure if this person could really save their little prince. Of course, Zhao Fu's appearance was a trace of hope. Moreover, cultivation did not mean anything. Getting rid of the bloodline curse did not rely on cultivation, but bloodlines. Moreover, one needed a powerful sovereign bloodline to get rid of the bloodline curse. Could it be that this person was actually an emperor? Thinking about that, the elephant people's expressions became respectful. They did not dare to offend such a grand figure. Moreover, he was here to save their little prince. So no matter what the outcome was, Zhao Fu was worthy of their respect. The elephant person king turned and looked at Zhao Fu's body. He looked at Zhao Fu for a few seconds before making an inviting gesture and saying, "Sir, please come up and dispel my prince's curse." The elephant people in the surroundings opened up a path. Zhao Fu walked up the altar and came to the little prince's side. He half squatted down and gathered his divine power in his palm. A divine mark appeared on Zhao Fu's palm, giving off a faint black light. Following this, Zhao Fu placed his hand on the little prince's forehead and sent a large amount of his divine bloodline's power into the little prince's body. Boom! A muffled explosion sounded out as countless traces of blood-red aura once again flowed out of the little prince's body. What was shocking was that the blood-red aura seemed to be afraid of something and continuously escaped from the little prince's body. What was going on? That powerful elephant god's strength surpassed the Emperor Heaven Realm, but he did not have the power to make the blood-red aura do this. Just what kind of terrifying power did this Harmony Realm, cloaked and ordinary-looking person have? Ark. The little prince howled in pain and struggled on the ground. But Zhao Fu pressed down on his head and continued to send large amounts of power into the little prince's body. Seeing how much pain the little prince was in, the elephant queen could not help but go up and tell Zhao Fu to stop, but she was stopped by the elephant king. This was a critical moment, and they could not afford to be interrupted. A massive wave of blood-red aura once again flowed out, forming that blood-red scaled hand. However, at that moment, Zhao Fu sent even more of his divine power into the little prince's body. Boom! The little prince's body exploded out with an aura as his body gave off an intense black light. The blood-red hand gradually disappeared, and the little prince no longer had any blood-red aura. Zhao Fu got up from the ground, and the elephant king immediately went up to examine the little prince's body. Everyone looked at the king in anticipation, waiting for him to announce the results. After examining the little prince's body, the elephant king looked delighted and turned to Zhao Fu as he said gratefully, "Thank you, sir, for dispelling my son's curse." Hearing this, everyone in the surroundings cheered. Now that the little prince's curse had been dispelled, everyone smiled happily and praised Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu lightly laughed and said, "It was a small matter, There's no need to be so polite, Your Majesty. Chapter 16:15. Zhao Fu naturally could not refuse, as Zhao Fu was not so kind as to waste so much power to help a person. He naturally had his own reasons for helping. The Elephant King felt immense gratitude towards Zhao Fu, and he understood that Zhao Fu's identity was incredibly terrifying. At the very least, he was an imperial prince, so he naturally could not look down on him. As such, he treated Zhao Fu incredibly courteously and respectfully. During the banquet, the elephant people toasted Zhao Fu and expressed their gratitude toward Zhao Fu, and Zhao Fu courteously responded. Of course, Zhao Fu could not miss out on gifts, and the elephant people gave many gifts to Zhao Fu. One of the best was a woolly elephant Denver. It was a type of mammoth that was covered with thick fur and had a pair of massive tusks. Its body was quite big, and its defense was not low. Its strength was at stage 4, and Zhao Fu was quite satisfied with this Denver. However, Zhao Fu had not obtained what he wanted the most, so he thickened his face and asked the Elephant King, "Is there anything related to an ancestor's item or godly spirit?" The Elephant King smiled and took out a heart-shaped green crystal that was as big as a fist and handed it to Zhao Fu as he said, "This stone was formed from an ancestor's heart, and it contains powerful and pure elephant ancestors' power." Zhao Fu received the green crystal and sensed its power, and he smiled as he said, "Many thanks." The Elephant King lightly laughed as he said, "It's just an ancestor's item and isn't very important to me. I still have to thank Sir for saving my son." Zhao Fu raised his cup of wine and smiled as he said, "There's no need to be so courteous. Let's continue drinking." The Elephant King also raised his cup of wine and drank it in one gulp before asking, "Sir, where are you from? You must be from a powerful empire, right?" The Elephant King felt quite curious about Zhao Fu's identity. His bloodline power was simply too powerful, but because Zhao Fu had hidden his aura, he only felt that it was quite terrifying and could not tell what grade of bloodline it was. He could only confirm that it was at least an imperial bloodline or even a peak imperial bloodline. However, he did not know that Zhao Fu's bloodline had already reached the level of an orthodox divine bloodline. The Elephant King knew that Zhao Fu was not simple, so he wanted to ask about Zhao Fu's identity and get to know him. Perhaps such a person would be of great help to him. Zhao Fu replied with a faint smile, "It's just an inconspicuous place. Let's continue drinking." Seeing that Zhao Fu did not reply, the Elephant King did not continue asking. He did not know that what Zhao Fu had said was the truth. He was in an unremarkable place at the border of the outer domain. At the end of the banquet, Zhao Fu led his people forward. Sitting in the carriage, Zhao Fu took out the elephant person ancestral heart and started to fuse with it. Zhao Fu sent some of his power into the ancestral heart, and in that moment, the green crystal gave off a green light and started to melt, turning into a green liquid. It then started to vaporize, turning into a green heart that was 1 meter wide. This green heart was not corporeal and was formed from green mist. Zhao Fu opened his mouth and sucked in all of the green mist and started to refine it. Traces of green mist fused into Zhao Fu's body, causing Zhao Fu's skin to gradually become green. In the end, Zhao Fu fused all of the green mist into his body, and a green elephant person totem appeared on his back, and his skin became normal again. "Big brother, are you done?" An hour later, the little girl, Xu Ming, stuck her head into the carriage and looked at Zhao Fu as she asked with a happy smile. Zhao Fu looked at Xu Ming and smiled as he asked, "What is it?" Xu Ming walked into the carriage and held a yellow flower in her hand. She came to Zhao Fu's side and handed the flower to Zhao Fu as she smiled and said, "Big brother, this flower is so pretty. Look, the flowers are so beautiful. I picked them especially for you." Zhao Fu smiled as he received the flower and rubbed Xu Ming's head before taking her outside. By now, the group had left the Elephant Kingdom and arrived at a boundary region. There was a grassland here, and there was lush green grass as far as the eye could see. There were also yellow flowers, and there was a trace of floral fragrance in the air. Because Zhao Fu was going to refine the ancestral heart, the women came outside. Some lazily lay on the grass, some picked yellow flowers to make flower garlands, and some sat by the side and laughed. The scenery here was originally very beautiful, but with so many charming women, it formed a picture of a grassy beauty. Just as Zhao Fu was about to go up, arrows containing immense force flew over. There were thousands of them, and they gave off shocking auras. Facing the arrows, Zhao Fu's expression did not change much. A black dragon inscription barrier gave off a terrifying aura as it spread out. It was 1,000 meters wide and covered everyone, blocking the thousands of arrows. The people hidden in the grass felt quite startled. They had never thought that they would encounter such a dangerous person. There were less than 100 people, and they had thought that they would be easy to deal with. If it shot out a wave of arrows, they might be able to deal with these people. However, a single person had blocked all of the arrows. The people hidden in the grass did not hesitate and quickly retreated, not daring to stay for even a moment. AI Fei coldly harumphed and held his spear as he led 30 or so centaur soldiers into the grass like lightning. Arc! Pain cries sounded out, as well as the sounds of weapons clashing and fighting. Waves of energy exploded out, and countless rays of light shot out, and grass flew everywhere. Soon, the sounds died down, and a dense stench of blood came out from the grass as 30 or so centaur soldiers brought out a few people. These people had rhinoceros heads and humanoid bodies. They had gray skin and powerful physiques, but they were not very tall. They looked terrified and had bloodstains on their bodies. They were all rhinoceros people, and they had stage 5 cultivation. Even though there were only 30 or so centaur soldiers, all of them were Saint Realm cultivators, and dealing with a few thousand stage 5 rhinoceros people was no problem at all. AI Fei brought the rhinoceros people in front of Zhao Fu and said fawningly, "Sir, these are the rhinoceros people who surrendered to us. These are the rhinoceros people who surrendered to us. The others have all been killed. These are the remaining survivors. Do you have anything to ask them? If not, I'll kill them all right now." Zhao Fu was currently sitting on the grass with one arm around the Naga goddess and the other around the half-beast goddess. Looking at AI Fei's performance, he felt that he was doing quite well and lightly laughed as he said, "You can leave now. I have something to ask them." Hearing this, AI Fei retreated to the side, and the rhinoceros people were brought in front of Zhao Fu. Chapter 16:16. The rhinoceros people hurriedly replied in fear, "We're from a nearby rhinoceros city, and we followed the city lord's orders to rob passers-by." Zhao Fu nodded and asked, "Is there anything special about your city? Do you have any ancestral items or godly items? As long as you tell me, I can spare you." The rhinoceros people thought to themselves in fear. Now that they had seen Zhao Fu's power, they were completely scared out of their wits. Hearing that they could live, they were willing to do anything. At that moment, one of the rhinoceros people said, "There's a rhinoceros lake near our city. We rhinoceros people often bathe there, and it can slightly improve our constitutions. It's a treasure land for our city. It's rumored that an extremely powerful rhinoceros person fell there, forming a rhinoceros lake. I wonder if it will be of any use to Sir." Zhao Fu smiled and nodded as he said, "Take me to your lake. I want to take a look, and I'll let you all go afterwards." The rhinoceros people nodded in delight. Zhao Fu had the others stay here and flew into the sky with the rhinoceros people. An hour or so later, they arrived in front of a lake. This lake was a few thousand meters wide and was shaped like a crater. It was a crater that had been created by an impact, and it contained a formless power. By now, there were many rhinoceros people swimming or bathing in the lake, and there were also rhinoceros children playing. The sun shined high in the sky, and the lake reflected light, creating a beautiful scene. Zhao Fu prepared to go up and examine the lake's power. A rhinoceros woman with a child looked at the rhinoceros people behind Zhao Fu in surprise and said, "Why are you back so early? Why haven't I seen my man?" The rhinoceros people looked at each other and did not know how to reply. They could not directly say that her man had been killed by this person's subordinates, nor did they dare to directly say this. They were afraid that Zhao Fu would be displeased. Zhao Fu ignored the rhinoceros woman and went to the side of the lake by himself. He stretched his hand in and felt the lake's power. This power contained a powerful rhinoceros person's aura, and it most likely belonged to the rhinoceros people. However, it felt quite weak and could not awaken a rhinoceros person totem. Zhao Fu slightly frowned and felt quite disappointed. The rhinoceros people hurriedly followed behind Zhao Fu and didn't reply to the woman. The woman pulled the little boy, and seeing that they were ignoring her, she felt quite angry. She came to the lakeside and shouted, "Didn't you hear what I said? Also, who is this cloaked man? Don't you know you can't bring outsiders here? I'll tell the city lord later and see how he'll deal with you." Hearing the woman's yell, the rhinoceros people felt quite startled, afraid that they would make Zhao Fu unhappy. After speaking about the rhinoceros people, the woman turned to look at Zhao Fu and loudly asked, "Who are you? Don't you know that this is our rhinoceros people's territory?" Zhao Fu turned to look at this coarse and domineering woman and waved his hand, sending out a sword light. Pooh! The sword light was incredibly fast and flashed by, splitting the woman's body in half. Blood flew everywhere, and the woman's mutilated corpse fell to the ground, her organs all over the ground. The rhinoceros people were given a big fright, and their hair stood on end as they looked at Zhao Fu in fear. What they were worried about had happened. "I'll kill you." Seeing that his mother had been killed, the 7 or 8-year-old rhinoceros person felt furious and hatefully looked at Zhao Fu. He raised his small fists and disregarded everything as he rushed at Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu was expressionless as he once again waved his hand, and an arc of light flashed out, chopping off the boy's head. The boy's headless corpse fell to the ground, and his head rolled into the lake and floated on the surface, dyeing the water red. Seeing how ferocious Zhao Fu was, directly killing the woman and the child, the rhinoceros people furiously rushed over. Zhao Fu looked at the incoming rhinoceros people condescendingly and waved his hand, sending out a massive sword light that cut apart the incoming rhinoceros people. Blood flowed to the ground and flowed into the lake. The lake was dyed red, and Zhao Fu felt that the lake's power had increased slightly, causing him to look delighted. He looked at the other rhinoceros people around him and vigorously grabbed at the air. Clang, clang, clang. Chains containing immense power shot out of the water towards the rhinoceros people in the lake. Some of the rhinoceros people who were bathing were pierced by chains, and they howled as they were dragged into the water. Blood continuously flowed out of their wounds, and they soon died, dyeing the lake red. Some of the rhinoceros children playing in the lake were bound up by chains and dragged into the water. The massive power of the chains tore their bodies into pieces, causing blood to spurt out. Some of the chains contained immense power and pierced through the bodies of the women washing clothes in the lake. Pained cries sounded out as they were dragged into the water. After killing so many people, the lake's power had greatly increased, but it was still not enough. Zhao Fu turned to look at the terrified rhinoceros people behind him and said, "Don't worry, I won't kill you. Go back and take your families away. Don't blame me if you're too late." The rhinoceros people understood what Zhao Fu was going to do, and they were incredibly grateful to Zhao Fu for not killing them. So they quickly ran back to Rhinoceros City. Following this, Zhao Fu entered Rhinoceros City and started a massacre. He released 50,000 darkness soldiers and killed the 100,000 or so rhinoceros people within the city, not sparing a single person, regardless of whether they were men, women, old, or young. After killing so many people, Zhao Fu collected their corpses and threw them into the lake. With so many corpses, the clear lake water was dyed blood red, and it gave off a nauseating stench. Zhao Fu went to the center of the lake and exploded out with a massive suction force, absorbing the blood-red water's power. The massive wave of power continuously flowed into Zhao Fu's body, and Zhao Fu quickly absorbed it. The power could raise one's constitution, and it was slightly helpful to Zhao Fu. In the end, all of the lake's power was absorbed by Zhao Fu, and Zhao Fu once again felt a pain on his back as a blood-red rhinoceros person totem appeared. Chapter 16-17. After returning to the group, Zhao Fu and his group continued onwards. After passing through this boundary, they came to another world. This world was a deer people world, and they had deer antlers on their heads. They were not very big and were only 15 centimeters long, not the size of normal deer antlers. Apart from their antlers, they also had deer tails and were no different from humans. Of course, there were some deer people who had deer heads and large horns. They had human bodies and deer-like skin. As Zhao Fu's group walked through this world, the deer people in this world were quite friendly and nothing bad had happened. By now, the group was walking through a forest in the wilderness and was quite close to Outlander 10 College. In a few days, Zhao Fu would be able to reach Outlander 10 College, and that would be the recruitment period. Roar! Suddenly, a beast's roar sounded throughout the forest. It was quite close, and Zhao Fu thought about it before flying over to see what was going on. He saw a massive black bear ferociously chasing after a group of people. This group was mainly made up of guards, and they wore armor and had sharp swords and bows. It seemed that they had come to hunt, but they had never thought that they would encounter this black bear. Bang! The black bear raised its massive paw and slammed it against the ground, causing a formless energy ripple to spread out with terrifying power. The ground cracked and collapsed, and the group of people were hit by the energy ripple and were all sent flying back before crashing to the ground. The black bear caught up to the group and savagely smiled at a woman with a bright appearance and a seductive figure. It stretched out a massive paw and grabbed at her. From the black bear's gaze, it seemed to be somewhat lewd and wanted to possess the deer woman. This black bear was most likely not an ordinary black bear and was most likely a person in disguise. Seeing the massive bear paw grab at her, the deer woman looked quite afraid and cried out, "Bear 3. This is the deer people's territory, not your bear people's territory. If you dare to do anything to me, the deer people definitely won't let you off." The bearman wildly laughed. "You're just the princess of a small kingdom in the deer world, while I'm the prince of a large kingdom in the bear world. Even if I do anything to you, do you think the deer world will go to war with the bear world for you?" The deer woman's expression was quite unsightly, because the deer people would not start a war because of her. There were simply too many things involved. A few guards crawled up from the ground and rushed towards the black bear, yelling, "Princess, hurry up and leave." Hearing this, the deerman woman came back to her senses, and she hurriedly crawled up from the ground and ran to the other side. A few guards rushed over with their weapons, sending out sharp lights as they slashed towards the black bear. However, the black bear slapped the guards into meat patties and continued to grab at the deer girl. The deer woman looked terrified and felt a trace of despair. She could not escape from that large hand at all. Clang! A sword cry suddenly resounded, and a sharp sword light streaked across the sky. In an instant, it hacked on the bear's claw. Blood splashed everywhere, and the black bear let out a painful roar. A deep wound had appeared on its claw, and bones could be seen. The black bear looked furious as he looked at Zhao Fu and furiously said, "Who are you? How dare you injure me?" The deer woman looked at Zhao Fu in delight and felt that there was hope for her. She hurriedly said, "Sir, I hope that you won't be able to escape. I am the princess of the deer kingdom. If you save me, I will definitely reward you greatly." Zhao Fu stood in the air and lightly laughed at the deer person, saying, "Princess, it's not a big deal. You stay here and leave this black bear to me." The deerman woman relaxed and nodded with a smile. The black bear's expression became quite unsightly, and he did not hesitate to turn and run. He knew that he was not a match for Zhao Fu at all. Zhao Fu coldly laughed and sent out a massive sword light towards the black bear, sending it flying and crashing into countless trees, resulting in a massive explosion. The black bear furiously roared, "I'm the prince of the bear kingdom. If you dare to kill me, the bear kingdom won't let you off." These words sounded quite familiar, as the deer woman had just said these words to the black bear. Now, the black bear was saying these words to Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu said disdainfully. Do you think I'm afraid? The black bear was incredibly furious and glared at Zhao Fu. In the next second, he turned and ran because he had no way out. Boom. However, even if he wanted to run, he could not. Zhao Fu once again slashed out, sending the massive black bear flying. This time, there was a long gash from which blood continuously flowed out, and the black bear howled. Zhao Fu did not show any mercy and once again slashed out, slashing into the black bear's body. Blood flew everywhere, and another gash appeared on the black bear's body. This time, the black bear knew that it was afraid, and it was not as arrogant as before. It knelt on the ground and begged, Sir, please spare me this once. I'll agree to anything you want. Also, I'm the Bear Kingdom's only prince, so you can ask my imperial father for anything. He will definitely agree. Hearing this, Zhao Fu thought about it and felt that it was possible, so he nodded and agreed. He then made a cut on his finger, and a few drops of blood turned into a blood-red rune under Zhao Fu's control. Zhao Fu stretched out his finger, and the blood-red rune entered the black bear's forehead. The black bear did not dare to resist and allowed Zhao Fu to set up restrictions within its body. After the restrictions were set up, it let out a sigh of relief, and its body quickly became small. In the end, it became a ferocious-looking big man with bare ears, a bear tail, and black hair. He was quite tall, and the wounds on his body were still there, flowing with blood. He was not wearing any clothes at all. Zhao Fu frowned and looked quite displeased. The bear person understood and immediately put on his clothes in fear. He took out a medicinal pill and ate it, starting to heal his injuries. Zhao Fu ignored him and descended from the sky. He looked at the deer woman in front of him and found that she was quite beautiful. Facing Zhao Fu's gaze, the deer woman's face became slightly red, and she said gratefully to Zhao Fu, Thank you, sir, for saving my life. After I return to the Deer Kingdom, I will properly thank sir. Zhao Fu walked up and hugged the deer woman as he lightly laughed and said, I don't need that. You can use your body to repay me. The deer woman immediately started to struggle and panic. She had never thought that Zhao Fu, that bastard, would also have ill intentions towards her. Chapter 16:18. Zhao Fu carried the deer woman into a nearby forest and started to ravage her. The deer woman struggled a few times and happily immersed herself in it, cooperating with Zhao Fu. The bearman outside the forest could hear the intense sounds coming from within the forest, as well as the deer woman's lewd moans, and a look of admiration appeared on his face. This was a woman that he had taken a fancy to, and he had spent a great deal of effort to obtain her. He had even thought of how to taste the deer woman, but he had never thought that she would become someone else's, allowing Zhao Fu to take advantage of her. The bearman had wanted to take this opportunity to escape, but sensing the restrictions in his mind, he could only give up on this idea. He had a feeling that if he escaped, the restrictions in his mind would immediately take his life. Now, he could only listen miserably as the woman he fancied panted under Zhao Fu's body. Afterwards, Zhao Fu hugged the deer woman and lay on the grass. Above them was the deep blue sky, and a light breeze blew, bringing with it a trace of coldness. The deer woman, Lu Yu, blushed as she lay in Zhao Fu's embrace and said shyly, Husband, I'm quite worried. Why don't you go to my house and propose to marry me later? Zhao Fu chuckled and asked, Do you have any ancestral items in your family, or something related to the gods? Lu Yu thought for a moment before replying, My family has a pair of ancestral deer antlers that can summon ancestral spirits. If you want them, I'll go back and get them for you. Of course, you have to marry me first. Zhao Fu refused without thinking. I won't marry you here. That's too troublesome. You'll take me back to be your concubine. Lu Yu was a little dissatisfied. Zhao Fu comforted her a few times before she finally agreed. The two of them put on their clothes and walked out of the forest sweetly, looking at the red-faced Lu Yu, who gave off a beautiful and alluring aura. The bear man could not help but feel even more tempted. The aura of a woman and a young married woman had instantly changed. Zhao Fu looked at the bearman and said, Wait here. I'm going to leave for a while. I'll deal with your matters later." The bear man obediently nodded. Zhao Fu brought Lu Yu back to the group and told everyone before heading to the Deer Kingdom's king's palace. Lu Yu was a princess, the daughter of a branch marquis, and she was not a princess. The Deer Kingdom was just a small kingdom, and Zhao Fu did not care too much because he did not have to fear it. However, because of Lu Yu, Zhao Fu had to be polite to the Deer Kingdom's king and would not be unreasonable. However, after coming to the prince's residence and hearing that Lu Yu had brought a man back and said that he was her husband, the prince was furious and led a group of soldiers to surround Zhao Fu. On one hand, he was angry that Lu Yu had casually found a man to be her husband. This was simply throwing away his face. On the other hand, he wanted to marry Lu Yu to a minister of the imperial court to solidify his position. However, his plans had been ruined by Zhao Fu. "It's best if you leave now. My daughter is a princess. Don't think that you're good enough for her, because you're not good enough for her." The prince was a middle-aged man with a long face, and he said arrogantly to Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu frowned, a little angry. He had wanted to be polite, but he didn't expect this result. Seeing this, Lu Yu hurriedly came out to mediate, saying, "Lord Father, my body already belongs to my husband, and I've decided to marry him. Father, please don't stop me. And my husband, don't be angry. He's my father. Can you understand?" The prince felt even more furious. He had never thought that his daughter's body would be given to this person. He cursed, "You perverted traitor! You dare to defile my daughter? Today you must die. Men, cut him into pieces." The surrounding soldiers received the order and were about to attack Zhao Fu. Lu Yu immediately stood in front of Zhao Fu and said coldly, "If you dare to hurt my husband, I won't let you off." The soldiers could not help but stop and look at the prince. The prince said angrily, "Are you going to listen to me or her? Kill this perverted traitor. If the princess tries to stop you, take her down first." Hearing this, the soldiers prepared to act. A beautiful middle-aged woman with a mature figure, long green hair, and a pair of antlers walked out and hurriedly called out, "Stop! Can't you do this? Can't you talk things out properly?" After being stopped time and time again, the prince felt quite annoyed and said, "Madam, you don't need to worry about this. This perverted traitor dared to defile my daughter. I must kill him today, or else I won't be able to vent my anger. Did you all hear that? Kill him. Don't listen to anyone else's orders." Hearing this, the soldiers roared and gave off powerful auras as they charged at Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu looked quite furious as he exploded out with a massive aura, weighing down on everyone's bodies like a massive boulder. The charging soldiers froze and looked at Zhao Fu in terror. Zhao Fu coldly waved his hand, and a massive wave of energy sent those soldiers flying back. They coughed up a large mouthful of blood and fainted to the ground, and no one knew if they were dead or alive. The Grand Prince looked at Zhao Fu in shock. He had never thought that Zhao Fu would have such terrifying power. It was completely unexpected. Zhao Fu coldly looked at him and stretched out a finger, causing a massive wave of energy to shoot out towards the prince. Seeing this, the prince exploded out with his own power, causing the air around him to sink as a yellow energy barrier appeared around his body. Bang! A muffled explosion sounded out as the energy shattered the barrier, but the prince was still sent flying. He crashed to the ground and coughed up a large mouthful of blood. As the prince of a small kingdom, he already had great Earthrealm power. However, Zhao Fu had already used his nation armament's power, so in front of Zhao Fu, the prince was like an ant that could be crushed at any moment. Zhao Fu prepared to go up and step on the prince's body as he said coldly, "I wanted to be polite to you, but since you're seeking death, don't blame me." The prince looked terrified and could sense that Zhao Fu wanted to kill him. He hurriedly said, "Don't kill me. I promise to give my daughter to you. I'm your father-in-law, so you can't kill me." Zhao Fu coldly laughed as he said, "Don't you think it's too late to say that? You make me feel disgusted." As he spoke, Zhao Fu vigorously stomped down on the prince's chest, wanting to shatter it. The prince looked incredibly pained as he begged in fear, "Don't kill me. I'll agree to everything you want, as long as you let me go." Chapter 1619. The beautiful woman also came up and said, "Sir, my daughter is actually yours. My daughter actually belongs to you, so we are also your father-in-law and mother-in-law. If you kill him, Lu will not have a good time in the future. Now that he knows his mistake, please let him go. Mother-in-law is also begging you." Zhao Fu turned to look at the beautiful woman and lifted her chin as he gave a trace of a smile and said, "Come with me, and I'll consider sparing him this once." The prince felt quite furious. His daughter had been taken by Zhao Fu, and now Zhao Fu had taken a fancy to his wife. How could he not be furious? However, he did not dare to say anything because he was afraid of dying. If he died, everything would be over. Hearing Zhao Fu's words, Lu Yu angrily pinched Zhao Fu. She had never thought that Zhao Fu would take a fancy to her mother. Thinking about how she and her mother would serve Zhao Fu in the future, Lu Yu's face became red and she felt quite embarrassed. Lulu looked at her cowardly husband and shy daughter and helplessly nodded as she said, "I agree. Can you let go of my husband now?" Zhao Fu gave a trace of a smile and let go. He looked at the prince and said, "I also need your family's pair of deer antlers. Give them to me and I'll let you go." Hearing this, the prince hurriedly took out a pair of yellow antlers and gave them to Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu took the deer horn and sensed its power before smiling and putting it away. He did not say anything and left the Grand Prince's residence with Lu Yu and her mother, Lulu. A while later, Zhao Fu brought the mother and daughter back to the group. Zhao Fu left the two of them with the group while he went to find the big bear person. Because of the restrictions, the big bear person obediently waited there and did not dare to take a step away. Zhao Fu directly said, "Send a message that I want your bear race's ancestral item. You should have it, and as long as you give it to me, I'll spare your life." The big bear person nodded and wrote a letter, and he had people quickly deliver it to the bear kingdom. Zhao Fu quickly received a reply. The big bear person was the bear kingdom's only prince, and he was incredibly important to the bear kingdom. As such, the bear kingdom directly agreed to Zhao Fu's request and exchanged the ancestral item for the big bear person. A few hours later, Zhao Fu and Zhao Fu met at the appointed place. Zhao Fu hid in the surroundings and waited for others to arrive. If there was any danger, he would immediately retreat. A tall and slender woman with a pair of black bear ears, a head of long black hair, and a cold expression had arrived at the rendezvous point. The big bear person felt that things were not good. Why was his big sister giving him an ancestral item? Just as Zhao Fu and the big bear person were about to leave, the big bear person was worried that Zhao Fu would do something to his big sister. So he said, "That's not someone from our bear kingdom. I think I wrote the wrong letter. How about I write another letter? The bear kingdom will definitely prepare an even better ancestral item." Hearing this, Zhao Fu looked at the big bear person and grabbed him as he walked out. He naturally did not believe the big bear person's words. This was because the woman's aura was similar to the big bear person's, and it was evident that she was the big bear person's relative. Seeing Zhao Fu bring out the big bear person, the woman in black felt at ease. The big bear person was the bear kingdom's only successor, and nothing could happen to him, or else the consequences would be severe. The throne would fall into the hands of the branch family. "This is the ancestor's item you wanted. Ancestor, let my brother go." The woman in black took out a bear man's skull and said with a cold expression. The black-clothed woman, who was the bearman's big sister, Xiongxi, naturally wouldn't give Zhao Fu a good attitude towards the person who had kidnapped her little brother. She didn't know that her attitude made Zhao Fu even more interested in her. He could sense the bear skull's power, and it was an extremely powerful ancestral item. It should be able to summon ancestral spirits. Withdrawing his gaze, Zhao Fu looked at Xiongxi and smiled as he said, "I can let your little brother go, but not only do I want the ancestral item, but I also want you to stay and serve me." Xiongxi's expression became cold as she stared at Zhao Fu and exploded out with a terrifying aura, gathering heaven and earth power as she said coldly, "Stop dreaming." Zhao Fu said disdainfully as an even more terrifying aura exploded out, ferociously weighing down on Xiongxi's body, causing her expression to become quite unsightly. Seeing her unsightly expression, Zhao Fu lightly laughed as he said, "You have no other choice. Either you agree to my request, or I'll kill you and your brother." Xiangxi's expression was cold as she looked at the burly bearman. Facing his big sister's gaze, the burly bearman felt quite guilty and felt regret. If he hadn't lusted after Lu Yu's beauty, he wouldn't have fallen to such a state, and his big sister would have to serve him. "I agree," Xiangxi said calmly. A trace of a smile appeared on Zhao Fu's face as he pulled Xiangxi into his embrace and said to the burly bearman, "You can leave now." The burly bearman looked at Xiangxi with a pained expression as he said, "Big sis, I don't want you to be like this. He's not a good person, and with his character, he definitely has countless women. You definitely won't have a good life with him." Zhao Fu frowned and said mockingly, "If I'm not a good person, then are you a good person?" Xiangxi understood that Zhao Fu was quite angry, so she immediately said to the burly bearman, "Don't worry about me. I'll take care of myself. The Bear Kingdom needs you. I hope you can remember this lesson and be a good ruler in the future." The burly bearman wanted to say something, but Xiangxi's expression was cold as she said, "Hurry up and leave." In the end, the burly bearman could only leave and quickly return to the Bear Kingdom. He charged into the Bear Kingdom's palace and said to the bearded middle-aged man, "Imperial Father, hurry and save my big sister. She's been taken away by that bastard." Seeing the burly bearman, the middle-aged man felt quite furious, but hearing his words, he felt quite startled and asked, "What's going on?" The burly bearman told the middle-aged man everything. In the end, the middle-aged man sighed and said, "The power he released is comparable to the Emperor Heaven Realm. Even if I bring people over, it would be useless. Your big sister understands this, which is why she told you to leave. Don't worry about her. Also, come here, I'll remove the restriction on you." Hearing that he could not save his big sister, the burly bearman walked over with an unsightly expression. The middle-aged man placed his hand on the burly bearman's forehead and sent a massive wave of power into it. He immediately sensed the restriction formed by the divine bloodline. Immediately. Chapter 16:20. After being slapped, the bear person looked quite wronged and did not understand what had happened. Looking at his father's furious and fearful expression, he understood that the person who had restricted him most likely had an incredibly terrifying identity. Elsewhere, Zhao Fu returned to the group. After traveling for a while, Zhao Fu stopped and planned to summon the two ancestor spirits to refine them. After coming to a flat area, Zhao Fu took out the bear person skull and deer person horn and sent his power into them. The bear person skull gave off a black light and slowly rose into the sky, and the pair of deer horns gave off yellow light as they also rose into the sky. Heaven and earth power quickly gathered, causing clouds to swirl. The bear person skull absorbed countless traces of heaven and earth power and gave off black fog. More and more of the fog condensed and did not dissipate, and it continuously changed until it formed a massive black bear that gave off immense power. The pair of antlers gave off an intense yellow light as countless traces of heaven and earth power gathered. The yellow light continuously condensed and formed a massive yellow deer that gave off a powerful aura. Seeing the deer person ancestor spirit next to it, the bear person ancestor spirit roared and instinctively prepared to attack. The deer person ancestor spirit gave off a cry and prepared to resist as the two races did not get along. Clang, 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 chains containing terrifying power shot out from the void, giving off massive clanging sounds. Countless chains shot out and bound up the two ancestor spirits who were about to fight. The two ancestor spirits furiously roared and continuously struggled, but they were easily pulled in front of Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu stretched out his hands, and his palms gave off black light as they exploded out with massive suction forces and slowly absorbed the two ancestor spirits into his body. Roar! Roar! The two ancestral spirits furiously and fearfully roared. Their voices were incredibly loud and shook the surroundings. They exploded out with power and continuously struggled, sending out terrifying shockwaves. In the end, the two ancestor spirits were absorbed into Zhao Fu's body, and Zhao Fu immediately sat down and started to refine the two ancestor spirits. After being absorbed into Zhao Fu's body, the two ancestor spirits continuously struggled, and Zhao Fu's divine bloodline turned into black flames that covered them and started to absorb their essence. Their powers slowly fused into Zhao Fu's body. Zhao Fu once again felt a pain on his back as a black bear person totem and a yellow deer person totem appeared on Zhao Fu's back. After refining the two totems, Zhao Fu smiled and returned to the group. The group continued onwards, and after Zhao Fu returned to the carriage, the women's faces were red as they looked at Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu first pulled Lu Lu, her mother, and Xiong Shi into his embrace and started to have a good taste of them. The other women also joined in, and intense noises sounded out within the carriage. Xu Ming sat on the three-headed demon wolf and understood that her big brother, Zhao Fu, was doing that blushing thing with her mother and the other big sisters. Thinking about how happy the big sisters looked under her big brother, Xu Ming could not help but look forward to growing up. Afterwards, Zhao Fu hugged Lu Yu, Lu Lu, and Xiong Shi. The three women's faces were red as they breathed raggedly in Zhao Fu's embrace. Xiong Shi could sense that Zhao Fu was quite extraordinary, and her eyes were filled with curiosity as she asked, "Can you tell me just who you are? I don't believe that you're a minor figure. From your aura, you're at least an emperor." Zhao Fu lightly laughed as he replied, "I'm not." Xiong Shi said somewhat angrily, "I already said that I wouldn't believe you if you said you were a minor figure. Is it that hard to admit that you're an emperor? I just want to know your identity. Otherwise, I won't know anything. Just what kind of person am I following?" The serpent god stretched out her hand and stroked Xiong Shi's body as she said coquettishly, "Our husband is indeed not an emperor. He's a holy son who reigns above emperors." Xiong Shi's heart trembled as she looked at Zhao Fu in shock. She had never thought that Zhao Fu's identity would be so terrifying. She now understood. No wonder she had felt as if her soul and body had been conquered, and she had also received great benefits. Since Zhao Fu's identity was so terrifying, following by Zhao Fu's side was definitely a good thing. Xiong Shi gave a trace of a smile and lightly hugged Zhao Fu. At that moment, the group came to a highland, and after passing through this highland, they would be within Outlander 10 College's territory. Zhao Fu sat by the window and admired the scenery. There were not many trees here, and most of them were grass. Because they were quite high up, the temperature was quite cold. Suddenly, seeing a few figures fly over, Zhao Fu felt quite surprised and muttered to himself, "Angels." This was because the person Zhao Fu saw had a humanoid figure and appearance, but he had a pair of white wings on his back, and the aura he gave off was not holy light. Zhao Fu felt quite curious and left the carriage. He turned into a ray of light and followed these figures. They were all men, and there were 5 of them in total. They landed beside a pool in the mountains, and there were already 5 beautiful women in the pool playing in the water. These 5 women looked different from the 5 men. First of all, they had eagle-like wings on their backs. Their feet were not like human feet, but more like claws. Other than that, they looked like humans. Not only did the 5 women have alluring figures and fair skin, but they were also quite pretty. They all gave off different auras. One was sexy, one was bewitching, one was quiet, one was bold, and one was delicate. Zhao Fu could tell that they came from 2 different races. The 5 men were most likely feather people, while the 5 women were eagle people. Why were these 2 races meeting in such a secretive place? The 5 eagle people women were not wearing any clothes as they played in the water. Seeing the 5 feather people men, they did not show any embarrassment and instead happily smiled as they came to the shore. The 5 feather person men were all quite good-looking, and they each hugged an eagle person woman. They looked very sweet, as if they were a couple in love, and they sat on the ground. The feather people men did not mind that their beloved women were naked in front of other men, and they were talking and laughing. They seemed quite familiar with each other, and this was most likely not the first time this had happened. Chapter 16:21. This was the first time Zhao Fu had seen 5 men and 5 women do such a thing, and he could not help but feel infuriated. They were doing such immoral and shameless things in broad daylight, and Zhao Fu felt that he had to stop them. Clang, clang, clang. Zhao Fu stretched out a hand, and the golden light in his left eye quickly shot out. The 5 couples were caught off guard and were tied up by chains and hung in the air. Everyone's expressions fell, and they could not understand what was going on. Zhao Fu appeared in front of them and looked at the 5 women hanging in the air. In terms of figures and looks, they were all top-tier beauties. Moreover, with their bodies completely exposed, Zhao Fu could not help but react. A handsome-looking feather-person young man furiously said, "Who are you? Why did you tie us up? Do you know who I am? I'm the young master of the harpies. Hurry up and let me go." Zhao Fu calmly glanced at him and waved his hand, slapping the feather-person young man's face, causing it to swell up. The feather-person young man felt humiliated and furiously cursed. "You bastard, lowly person, I'll definitely kill you." Zhao Fu gave a trace of a smile as he looked at the young man and waved his hand, causing formless slaps to land on the handsome young man's face. Pa! 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 Slapping sounds sounded out as the handsome young man's face became swollen and a few of his teeth fell out, making him unable to speak clearly. The others looked at Zhao Fu in fear and did not dare to say anything. Zhao Fu looked at the young man whose face was swollen like a pig's and was not interested in torturing him. He raised his hand and prepared to kill him. The seductive woman hurriedly said, "Please, don't kill my husband. I can serve you." The 5 of them were not wearing a single piece of clothing and were hung in front of Zhao Fu without any privacy. From Zhao Fu's invasive gaze, the 5 women understood that Zhao Fu was interested in them. Hearing this, Zhao Fu stopped, and a trace of smile appeared on his face. First, he tied up the 5 men and threw them to the side. Then, he used iron chains to bind their eyes tightly. Then, he put the 5 women down. The 5 women looked at Zhao Fu in fear and understood what Zhao Fu was going to do. They nervously stood there and did not dare to do anything. Zhao Fu went up and brought them into his embrace. He did it with them as he asked for information. The 5 women soon started to lewdly moan under Zhao Fu's body, and the 5 men felt incredibly furious. Their women had been violated right in front of them, and some of the feather people did not dare to say anything, while others furiously cursed out. A few chains bound his mouth, making it so that he could not say anything. The chains around his eyes were released so that he could personally see how lewd his women were under Zhao Fu's body and how Zhao Fu ravaged them. Seeing her man furiously watching her being ravaged by another man, the gentle-looking woman felt incredibly guilty, but she felt even more excited and responded to Zhao Fu. Afterwards, Zhao Fu hugged the 5 women and obtained what he wanted. The feather people and eagle people lived in this highland region. One mountain could not hold 2 tigers, and the 2 races were mortal enemies. There had been many battles between the 2 sides, causing the hatred between them to run deep. As such, the people from both sides naturally did not allow people from the other side to interact, and it was a heavy crime. Originally, they did not know each other, but one time they had been bathing in this hidden pool and had been seen by 5 men from the feather people. Originally, they would have fought, but the 5 men had fallen in love with them and passionately pursued them. In the end, they agreed and became their secret wives, maintaining their current relationship. Because the pool was quite hidden, it became a place for them to meet. Moreover, that handsome-looking young man was the young master of the harpies, and his woman was the seductive woman, the daughter of the chief of the eagle people. In actuality, their looks, figures, auras, and noble statuses made them quite suited for each other. It could be said that they were a match made in heaven. However, they were enemies and could not be together. Now, the 5 of them had been tamed by Zhao Fu, and they all looked at Zhao Fu lovingly, looking like female slaves. "Master, can you let go of our husband now?" The seductive eagle woman lay in Zhao Fu's embrace and smiled as she looked at Zhao Fu. The gentle-looking woman shyly said, "That's right, master. seeing that we worked so hard to serve you. Can you let them off this time? In the future, the 5 of us will serve you every day." However, the bold-looking eagle woman said the opposite. "Master, I want you to kill them. I want you to kill them. If word of this gets out, our family will be heavily punished because this is a big crime." The feather people next to her felt furious and felt that this woman was too vicious. This was especially so for her man, who felt a chill in his heart. He had never thought that this brazen woman would take the initiative to say that she wanted to kill him, despite how loving they had been before. As for the other man, his eyes were completely red as he looked at Zhao Fu and the others hatefully. He was the man who had personally seen how Zhao Fu had violated his woman, and he was the gentle-looking woman's man. Right now, he did not feel any gratitude towards the gentle-looking woman and instead felt hatred towards her. He just wanted her to quickly die. Zhao Fu did not say anything and had a plan. He wanted to obtain the 2 factions' ancestral items, which was Zhao Fu's main goal. "I'll deal with them. Also, all of you are now my female slaves and will leave with me later." Hearing this, the women nodded. Zhao Fu started his own plan, and he first secretly sent this news to the Harpies. That handsome-looking young man was the Harpies' young master, and he was the most valuable person in the Harpies. He could be exchanged for anything. Moreover, the Feather People's young master had an affair with an eagle woman, his mortal enemy. If news of this spread, it would be over. Not only would he not be able to become the chief, but the chief might even be forced to abdicate. Zhao Fu wanted all sorts of things, and the Harpies' chief could not refuse, so he could only obediently agree. After sending this news, the Harpies' chief was greatly shocked. She had never thought that her son would do such a thing. If news of this spread, countless feather people would be furious, as they had great enmity with the eagle people. When that time came, she would be forced to abdicate by the elders, and their family situation would become difficult. All of the feather people would view them as traitors. Chapter 16:22. The Harpies' ancestral item was a white, glowing stone called the Harpies' Spirit Crystal. It contained the Harpies' ancestral power, and it was a very precious treasure among the Harpies. After giving out this treasure, the Harpies' chief had a request, which was to kill the eagle woman and the 4 feather person men. This matter was incredibly important, and they naturally could not reveal it. Zhao Fu did not reply and wanted her to come and talk to him in person. The Harpies' chief thought about it and agreed. However, after arriving at the valley, the Harpies' chief looked quite confused because there were already 4 beautiful feather person women here, and they were intensely doing it with a handsome man. She recognized these 4 beautiful women. They were all the wives of the elders, and their sons were quite close to her son. Their sons were the 4 men that Zhao Fu had captured. Back an hour ago, when Zhao Fu had received the Harpies' chief's request to kill the other men, he had been preparing to act. The courageous woman supported Zhao Fu in killing them, while the graceful woman supported Zhao Fu in the end for her family. The seductive woman's man was the feather person young lord, so she did not need to beg Zhao Fu. However, the gentle-looking woman and the bewitching woman knelt on the ground and begged Zhao Fu to spare them. Of the 2 men, one was incredibly moved. To have such a woman as his wife was the greatest honor of his life, and he even felt that he had let down the bewitching woman. The other was filled with hatred as he viciously looked at the gentle-looking woman. Zhao Fu came before the 5 feather person young men and hesitated as to whether or not to kill them. One of the feather person young men said fearfully, "Sir, don't kill me. Don't kill me. I heard what you said just now. Don't you want the ancestral item? My mother obtained an ancestral item of the dwarf race. If you let me go, my mother will definitely give it to you." This caused Zhao Fu to give up on killing him. Seeing that it was effective, another young man said, "His relatives will definitely bring an ancestral item and tell Zhao Fu not to kill them." Zhao Fu simply sent a message to the 4 clans, asking them to prepare the ancestral items of the other clans. The 4 families also understood the seriousness of the matter, so they agreed to Zhao Fu's request and quickly rushed over. Of the 4 beauties, one had a voluptuous figure and gave off a faint charm, One had a slim figure and gave off a trace of gentleness. One had a fiery figure and a shrewish personality, and one had a bewitching figure and a gloomy aura. They were all very beautiful, and they all had a pair of white wings. The four of them hurried to the agreed location to exchange with Zhao Fu, but only one of them took out a dwarf ancestor's remnant spirit. The other three were all decent treasures, but Zhao Fu did not need them and only wanted an ancestral item. Hearing that Zhao Fu did not want her clan's treasure and was unwilling to let go of her son, the shrewd-looking woman angrily cursed, "You bastard trash, I won't let you off. Just wait and see." This enraged Zhao Fu, and he captured the four women and violated them. Now, the shrewd-looking woman was under Zhao Fu's body and moaned. Back in the present, Zhao Fu turned and lightly smiled as he looked at the Harpy's chief. Looking at her noble aura and mature figure, he said, "Come and serve me." The Harpy's chief's expression was cold as she said, "I won't agree to such a thing. Also, I've already brought the ancestral item for you, so hurry up and let go of my son. Also, you have to promise that this news won't be leaked." Zhao Fu said domineeringly, "Now that the price has been raised, do you see how hard these four are serving me? Either you obediently serve me, or I'll capture you to serve me." As he spoke, Zhao Fu gave off his terrifying aura, causing the Harpy's chief's expression to fall. She hesitated for a moment before squatting under Zhao Fu with a cold expression and serving Zhao Fu with the other beauties. Following this, Zhao Fu had a good taste of the Harpy's chief. Following this, Zhao Fu brought the five women to the pond and let them see their sons. The Harpy's chief looked at her son, who was as swollen as a pig, and glared at Zhao Fu before going up with the other beauties to check if her son was injured. Looking at their mother's reddened face and the mature and alluring scent that she gave off, the five young men's hearts sank. They could not help but think of how Zhao Fu had done it with their mother. Some of them felt incredibly guilty and sad, while others felt furious. Zhao Fu did not mind them and held two items in his hands as he smiled. One was a 100 white crystal, which was the Feather People ancestors' spirit crystal, and it contained a large amount of ancestral power. There was also an orb of light with the image of a dwarf within it, which was the remnant spirit of the dwarf people ancestor. Now that you've taken what we wanted and enjoyed our bodies, it's time to let our sons go. The Harpy's chief coldly looked at Zhao Fu. She did not have the face to face her son's furious and guilty gaze. Zhao Fu smiled as he loosened the chains on the five young men, and the five beauties prepared to leave with their sons. Zhao Fu lightly laughed as he said, "They can leave later, but you have to stay. Also, do you feel like you can leave me?" The five beauties' faces became red. After having sex with Zhao Fu, they had become infatuated with this feeling, and their hearts were occupied by Zhao Fu. If they left Zhao Fu, they would most likely miss Zhao Fu. The shrewd-looking woman harumphed, "Then go back and prepare for us. We didn't plan on leaving with you in the beginning. We still have some things to take care of." Zhao Fu smiled and nodded before agreeing to leave with them. After they left, Zhao Fu and the five Eagle People women waited. Because of the rebellion, they had also written 5 letters to the Eagle People, threatening them to help them collect their ancestral items. Otherwise, they would spread this news and descend to kill the Eagle People. Zhao Fu sent some of his power into the letters, and when the 5 families received the letters, they did not hesitate at all. First of all, this news was just as serious for the Eagle People. Moreover, sensing Zhao Fu's terrifying power, they felt that they would not be able to stop him, so they could only obediently prepare their ancestral items to avoid a disaster. Chapter 16:23. The young man took out a pair of gem-like golden eyes and said, "These are the eagle eyes of our Eagle People's ancestor." Hearing this, Zhao Fu smiled as he took the pair of eyes and examined their power. The other 4 people also took out their own treasures. 2 of them were ordinary treasures that were useless to Zhao Fu, but 2 of them were their ancestors' treasures. Zhao Fu's eyes lit up. One was a silver skull, which did not belong to a human, but a silver goblin. It gave off a faint silver light and gave off a powerful aura. The other item was a corpse. This corpse was quite small, and its skin was dry and wrinkled. It was the corpse of a gnome ancestor, and it gave off a powerful might. The ancestor's power it contained would definitely not be weak. Zhao Fu took the two ancestral items, and after examining them, he gave a pleased smile and put them into his spatial ring. Sensing the terrifying aura from Zhao Fu's body, the young man respectfully said, "Sir, can we take our family with us? Can we take our family with us?" Seeing how cold and serious their big brother or father looked, the five women felt that they would definitely be severely punished when they went back. They could not help but feel afraid. The trouble they had caused this time was not small at all. They did not want to go back because they did not want to be crippled. They just wanted to stay by Zhao Fu's side and serve Zhao Fu. At that moment, Zhao Fu said, "They're my female attendants, so they can stay by my side. Don't worry, this secret won't be revealed. Here are a few things for you." After all, he had taken their bodies and forced them to give him 3 ancestral items. Zhao Fu felt quite bad, so he took out a few precious treasures to give to them. They had never expected this, and after looking at the treasure's stats, they could not help but smile. Since Zhao Fu did not want them to leave, they could only take the treasures and return to the Eagle people. Following this, the 5 beautiful women returned, and Zhao Fu brought them and the 5 eagle women back to the group. The sexy eagleman was called Ing Mei Ni. The bewitching eagleman was called Ing Can. The quiet eagleman was called Ing Wan. The bold eagleman was called Ing Wu, and the elegant eagleman was called Ing Xiao. The 5 beautiful harpies were called Yu Cici, the shrewish beauty Yu Hua, the charming beauty Yu Yu Yu, the gentle beauty Yu Ro, and the gloomy beauty Yu Yinin. They stood in 2 rows in front of Zhao Fu. One row was mature and alluring, while the other was young and beautiful. Logically speaking, they were mothers-in-law and daughters-in-law, but neither side seemed to like the other. Zhao Fu violated them together and tasted their taste so that they could get along well in the future. A few hours later, all the women lay together powerlessly, their faces flushed red as they panted. Both sides were tightly pressed against each other, and there was no longer any estrangement from before. Both sides had accepted each other. Zhao Fu had long since gotten up and came to an empty area, and he took out the 5 ancestral items. This was the first time Zhao Fu had obtained so many ancestral items, and he felt incredibly happy, so he planned to refine them before taking them back. The first was the pair of eagle eyes. Zhao Fu sent some power into them, causing the 2 eyeballs to give off intense golden light, making them look like 2 golden orbs of light. The golden orbs of light were not very big, and they were only as big as lychees. Zhao Fu opened his mouth and devoured the 2 golden orbs of light, after which they started to shine. The golden eyeballs were separated and fused into Zhao Fu's body, and many of them fused into Zhao Fu's eyes. This caused Zhao Fu's eyes to become sharper, and at the same time, Zhao Fu felt a pain on his back as a golden eagle person totem appeared. Next was the feather person spirit crystal, and Zhao Fu sent some power into it. The feather person spirit crystal gave off an intense white light and turned into a white orb that was as big as a rubber ball, and a powerful energy spread out. Zhao Fu controlled this orb of light to fuse into his chest, and a powerful energy spread out from Zhao Fu's body. The massive white energy flowed into Zhao Fu's body and continuously fused into Zhao Fu's body. In the end, the orb of light completely fused into Zhao Fu's body, and Zhao Fu's body gave off a white light as a white feather person totem appeared on Zhao Fu's back. Following this was the dwarf ancestor's remnant spirit. Zhao Fu sent large amounts of power into it, and the orb of light gave off an intense light. A dwarf's image appeared in front of Zhao Fu's body, and it continuously absorbed the power around it and became corporeal. Bang! The instant that the dwarf's image became corporeal, the dwarf's fist gave off terrifying power as it ferociously punched toward Zhao Fu, wanting to smash Zhao Fu's head in. Zhao Fu was expressionless as he stretched out a hand and easily grabbed the incoming fist. His palm gave off an intense black light and a suction force that sucked the dwarf's body into his body. At the same time, Zhao Fu started to refine the dwarf's body, and a powerful wave of dwarf ancestors' power spread through Zhao Fu's body, causing Zhao Fu's constitution to gradually become stronger. A gray dwarf totem appeared on Zhao Fu's back. Following this, Zhao Fu took out the goblin skull and sent power into it. The skull flew into the sky and gave off an intense silver light as heaven and earth power continuously gathered, causing clouds to swirl. The silver skull absorbed a large amount of heaven and earth power and turned into a 100-meter-tall silver goblin that gave off a terrifying aura. Zhao Fu released chains and bound up the goblin ancestor. He pulled it in front of him and stretched out a hand, sucked it into his body, and started to refine it. Arg! The goblin continuously howled within Zhao Fu's body, and its body gradually separated and fused into various parts of Zhao Fu's body. Countless traces of silver light came out from Zhao Fu's body, and a silver goblin totem appeared on Zhao Fu's back. Finally, it was the gnome ancestor's corpse. Zhao Fu released countless traces of black mist that covered the gnome ancestor's corpse, causing it to gradually melt and turn into a ball of black liquid. Zhao Fu opened his mouth and sucked the black liquid into his mouth, and the black liquid quickly spread through Zhao Fu's body. Zhao Fu absorbed the liquid with all his strength, and he once again felt a pain on his back as a black gnome totem appeared on Zhao Fu's back. After refining the 5 ancestral items, Zhao Fu grinned. Now, Zhao Fu had 23 totems: the Jackal Person Totem, Minotaur Totem, Wolfman Totem, Lizardman Totem, Kobold Totem, Pigman Totem, Orc Totem, Leopard Person Totem, Goat Person Totem, Fox Person Totem, Naga Person Totem, and Centaur Totem. The Tiger Person Totem, Ratman Totem, Elephant Person Totem, Rhinoceros Person Totem, Deer Person Totem, Bear Person Totem, Eagle Person Totem, Feather Person Totem, Gnome Totem, Dwarf Totem, and Goblin Totem. If others heard that Zhao Fu had 23 totems, it would be incredibly shocking. It was incredibly difficult for ordinary people to have 2 totems, let alone 23. It would be a miracle. Chapter 16:24. They had walked for quite a long time, and they had passed through many kingdoms and regions, met many races, and met many different people. This was a precious journey, and after arriving at Outlander 10 College, Zhao Fu felt a sense of accomplishment. Zhao Fu made arrangements for his group. Now that Zhao Fu could not continue to bring them, it was best not to reveal their identities. After all, this was Outlander 10 College, a place where countless geniuses from the Outlander domain gathered. Some of them had terrifying identities, such as emperors, and since Zhao Fu was participating in Outlander 10 College's examination, it was inevitable that he would offend some people. As such, in order to be safe, he temporarily cut off contact with them and went to Outlander 10 College by himself. Of course, before going, Zhao Fu started to gather information about Outlander 10 College's examination so that he could make preparations. By now, there was an ocean of people in front of Outlander 10 College, and countless people nervously and excitedly waited. Outlander 10 College was one of the Heaven Awakened World's 7 great colleges, and it had an incredibly important position in the Heaven Awakened world. Ordinary geniuses would not be able to enter even if they did everything they could, and once they entered, their statuses would go through massive changes. First, their strength would be acknowledged, and their families would place more importance on them. They would even nurture them with all of their strength, and their statuses would be respected by countless people. Finally, entering Outlander 10 College was a massive opportunity. Outlander 10 College was incredibly important, and countless people had prepared for this day for countless years. It could be seen just how excited everyone was. Outlander 10 College's walls were tall and tough, and there were countless beautiful flowers and plants engraved on them. There was a massive wooden sign with the words Outlander 10 College written on it, and each word was powerful and gave off an extraordinary power. Apart from this, there were 2 rows of statues that were 10 meters tall. Each statue seemed to be made of stone and looked incredibly lifelike. They gave off powerful might, and there were orcs, minotaurs, feather people, tiger people, elves, dwarves, giants. There were 34 statues in total, representing the 34 major Outlander clans. These are the 34 races with the most people and were the most widely distributed. At that moment, a muscular orc giving off a ferocious aura appeared with a few guards. Everyone made way in fear, and the orc ignored the people around him and walked to Outlander 10 College's gates. Sensing the orc's aura, the orc statue exploded out with a powerful aura and gave off a violet gold light. Everyone cried out. As a statue in front of Outlander 10 College, it definitely would not be simple. Apart from having great power, it could also sense geniuses from its own race. Only the most terrifying geniuses would cause the statue to react. The Beastman in front of him could actually make the Beastman statue emit a purplish gold light. It was clear that his identity was not simple. None of them had the ability to make the statue react in any way. Otherwise, the statue would have long since lit up with a different light. Seeing how powerful the orc was, everyone felt a mental blow. Soon, someone recognized the orc in front of them. He was the emperor of the Orc Empire. Hearing that he was the emperor, everyone felt a bit better. After all, with his bloodline, even an ordinary person with a sovereign bloodline would be able to become an expert. A tall, burly barbarian with only a piece of animal skin wrapped around his body and some paint on his face, carrying a huge stone axe, pushed the crowd away rudely. Sensing his ferocious and terrifying aura, everyone did not dare to resist and obediently retreated to the side. The barbarian walked to the gates, and the barbarian statue exploded out with a powerful aura and gave off a violet gold light. Countless people once again cried out. Another terrifying genius had appeared. His identity was quickly made known. He was the young master of a massive barbarian tribe. A lion person with a lion's head, green fur, and a humanoid body gave off a powerful aura. He also had a lion's tail, and he also gave off a terrifying aura. He raised his head proudly and came to the gates with a few guards. A lion person statue exploded out with a powerful aura and flashed with a violet gold light as a genius from the lion race appeared. His identity was quickly made known. He was the emperor of the lion person empire, and he was a terrifying figure that no one could touch. At that moment, a tall figure walked towards Outlander 10 College's gates. Seeing this figure, everyone instinctively made way, not daring to block his path. This person's body gave off a powerful aura. He was 3 meters tall and was quite chubby. Other than that, he looked just like a human, and he gave off a powerful aura. After he came to the gates, a giant statue exploded out with a powerful aura and gave off a violet gold light. Everyone could not help but sigh in amazement. This was the 4th genius that had appeared, and he was a prince of the giant kingdom. These geniuses all gave off a prideful aura and naturally would not submit to anyone. Seeing these 4 people come to the gates and display their power and talent, receiving the admiration of countless people, they did not want to fall behind and also walked towards the gates. A figure with a chicken's head, crimson red fur, a woman's body, and a pair of crimson red wings gave off a terrifying aura as she walked towards the door. A chicken person statue gave off a powerful aura and gave off a violet gold light. A person with a monkey's head, white fur, a man's body, and a tail gave off a powerful aura as he came to the door. A monkey person statue gave off a powerful aura and also gave off a violet gold light. A burly man with a pair of rabbit ears, who looked no different from a human, also walked towards the door with his own aura. A rabbit person statue gave off a powerful aura and also gave off a violet gold light. A goblin that was 2 meters tall and chubby and gave off a powerful aura saw so many people walk over and did not want to submit, so he also walked over. A goblin statue gave off a powerful aura and also gave off a violet gold light. The geniuses of the various races walked up, and the statues gave off terrifying auras and brilliant violet light. The might that they gave off was something that ordinary people could not withstand and could only retreat. Chapter 1625. 5 or 6 teachers from Outlander 10 College stood on a tall building and looked down at the crowd below. A middle-aged man from the Fox race lightly laughed as he said, "The recruitment this time is more lively than before, and there are 10 times as many people who can cause the statues to react. Moreover, all of them are young and full of vigor, and no one is willing to submit to anyone." A chubby bear person elder laughed as he replied, "It's not just these people. There are 60 times more ordinary geniuses than before. This is a blessing for the Outlander domain. If this continues, the Outlander domain's strength will surpass the other domains." A beautiful woman with a voluptuous figure smiled as she said, "I don't think that's the case. The Outlander domain's fate has not changed much, so it's impossible for so many geniuses to suddenly appear. These geniuses are not cabbages. They all represent massive amounts of fate and come from different powerful factions. The reason why so many geniuses have appeared is most likely related to the prophecy left behind by our Outlander race's King of Kings before he died." Hearing the woman's words, a middle-aged man wearing scholarly robes could not help but sigh as he spoke. The Outlander race's most glorious period was under the King of Kings' leadership. Back then, all of the Outlander races, big and small, recognized him as their king. All of the kings, emperors, and emperors submitted to him, and he was the undisputed King of Kings. He united all of the races, and even the most powerful god race, demon race, and devil race had to avoid him. However, after he died, the Outlander race fell apart and became one of the weakest out of the 8 races. I hope that his prophecy will be fulfilled and that someone will inherit his position and become the new King of Kings, leading all of the Outlander race and rising to glory." A serious-looking gnome elder with glasses said, "Before the King of Kings died, Outlander 10 College obeyed his will and protected the King of Kings Mountain. However, tens of thousands of years have passed, and many people have ascended the King of Kings Mountain, but not a single person has been able to pull out the King of Kings sword. The King of Kings was a peerless genius who was like a shining star. After that star fell, it was very difficult for another person like him to appear, so no one has been able to pull out the King of Kings sword in the past tens of thousands of years. I don't think it will be that easy. If the King of Kings sword could be pulled out, it would have been pulled out long ago and would not have waited for so long." The middle-aged man in scholarly robes said, "The King of Kings prophecy is not about someone being able to pull out the King of Kings sword in the past, but someone being able to pull out the King of Kings sword now and inherit his position. I think it's possible." The chubby bear person elder smiled as he said, "I also think that it's possible. After all, a terrifying existence like the King of Kings prophecies would not be false. It's because of this that countless Outlanders sent their geniuses here. The number of people participating in this recruitment is also unprecedented in history. Among so many people, perhaps one of them is the person in the prophecy." The Fox race middle-aged man looked at the people below and said somewhat condescendingly, "I'm afraid that not a single one of these people is the person in the prophecy. Their talent and potential are too low, and it's impossible for them to pull out the King of Kings sword. That includes the thousands of people who caused the statue to react. I'm afraid they don't even have a right to go up and draw the sword. I believe that only the true geniuses who haven't arrived yet have a chance of drawing the King of Kings sword." Boom! Just as the Fox race middle-aged man spoke, a terrifying aura blasted out, causing the air to seem to freeze. Countless people's hair stood on end as they felt a wave of terror. A feather person with 6 pairs of white wings on his back appeared in the sky. He was an incredibly handsome young man who gave off intense white light. He wore a white robe and looked like an angel, causing countless women's hearts to tremble. Boom! A feather person statue sensed the young man's aura and exploded out with a terrifying aura, and a 3-colored light spread out. Seeing this, everyone cried out. Just from the aura and the 3-colored light, this feather person young man's potential surpassed everyone else's. He was a true genius, and countless people looked at the feather person young man in awe and worship. The feather-person youth lightly laughed as he landed in front of the door. The thousands of people's expressions became slightly unsightly, and they retreated 10 or so meters, causing the crowd to split into 3 groups. Yuluo, you've stolen all the limelight. A centaur young man with long black hair and pure black eyes smiled as he walked out and came to the door. Boom! A centaur statue sensed the young man's aura and exploded out with a terrifying aura, and a 3-colored light spread out. Even if the centaur youth didn't give off any aura, it was clear that he was another peerless genius. Countless people exclaimed, and their gazes were filled with respect and worship as they looked at the centaur youth. Suddenly, a black figure flashed in the sky like a bolt of lightning and appeared in front of the door. It was a delicate-looking young man with cat ears and a cat tail, and he gave off a powerful aura. Boom! A cat-person statue sensed the young man's aura and exploded out with a terrifying aura, and a 3-colored light spread out. Another peerless genius had appeared, and everyone's gazes once again fell on the young man's body. The young man looked quite shy and did not want to face the countless gazes of worship. At that moment, the crowd parted, and an elf with a group of female attendants slowly walked out. The elf had long silver hair and silver eyes. She was tall and slim, and she was peerlessly beautiful. She was the princess of the Silver Moon Empire, and she was a famous beauty in the Outlander domain. Her appearance caused everyone to look over, and they could not help but praise her. Boom! The elf woman came to the door, and an elf statue sensed the woman's aura and exploded out with a terrifying aura, and a 3-colored light spread out. Following this, peerless geniuses appeared. Boom! 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 The statues exploded out with terrifying auras and massive might, and they gave off 3-colored light that shined in all directions. The thousands of people from before all retreated dozens of meters with unsightly expressions, feeling quite shocked at how powerful this person was. Chapter 16:26. Seeing so many geniuses appear, the teachers within the tall building all smiled. The elegant-looking woman smiled as she said, "If it wasn't for this recruitment, I wouldn't have known that there were so many geniuses. Moreover, there are many unfamiliar faces. They're most likely the hidden geniuses of large families." The chubby bear-person elder also happily laughed as he said, "With so many geniuses participating, we'll have to increase the number of students this year, or else some of the truly good seedlings will be eliminated. That would be quite a pity." The middle-aged man from the fox race laughed as he said, "Now, I'm also looking forward to the start of the examination. With so many geniuses clashing, just what will happen? The intensity of that clash will be unimaginable." Hearing this, everyone else could not help but nod. This time, there were many times more geniuses participating than in the past. Moreover, it was not just the quantity, but also the quality. All of the geniuses were incredibly terrifying, and none of them were weak. From this, it could be seen that this examination would be the most intense one in history. Everyone in the Outlander domain was paying attention to this matter, and countless terrifying existences entered Outlander 10 College to wait for the examination to begin. Bang! Suddenly, a massive explosion sounded out as a massive figure descended from the sky and heavily slammed into the ground. A terrifying power spread out, causing the ground to crack. A 3-meter-tall, 3-headed, fanged, and powerful-looking ogre appeared, causing everyone in the surroundings to retreat in fear. Ogres were incredibly ferocious existences within the Outlander race and liked to eat humans. They would not even spare their own people, and they would often kill people from other races. They were incredibly ruthless and terrifying. The 3-headed ogre savagely laughed as it looked around, causing countless people to feel a chill on their backs. The ogre came to the gates. Boom! Sensing the young man's aura, the ogre statue exploded out with a terrifying aura and a 5-colored light. Everyone looked incredibly shocked and cried out, "It's actually a 5-colored light. That's even brighter than everyone else's." The 100 or so people standing in the front all had grim expressions and retreated 10 or so steps. This ogre was actually quite famous, and many people knew of him. He was the imperial prince of the most powerful ogre empire, and his bloodline was at the peak of the imperial bloodline. His cultivation was at the world realm. Boom! Another powerful aura spread out like a tide as a powerful built orc with skin as black as steel walked out of the arena. That's the prince of the orc empire. The orc that appeared was quite famous in the Outlander realm. Countless people recognized him, and he came from the most powerful orc empire. His bloodline was also at the peak of the emperor realm. Boom! An orc statue sensed Zhao Fu's aura and exploded out with an incredibly terrifying aura, and a 5-colored light spread out. The crowd was not surprised to see this, because the ones who had appeared now were all world-renowned geniuses, and they were even more terrifying than the geniuses from before. Kikik, a few flirtatious laughs, sounded out as a seductive woman with an extremely beautiful face and a pair of platinum fox ears appeared in the sky. What was shocking was that she had 10 tails behind her. Countless people stared at her as if they were bewitched. Their hearts beat quickly, and their bodies became hot. They had already been charmed by that woman, and only after a while did they come back to their senses. This was from the fox race, and she was a famous genius in the Outlander realm. Her looks were quite rare, and she was the #1 beauty on the Outlander beauty rankings. She was not surprised, and the fox race statue gave off a 5-colored light. Roar! A dragon's roar sounded out in the surroundings as countless traces of black light covered the sky. A massive might descended as a dragon person with a dragon's horn on his head and a dragon's tail on his back appeared in the sky. He had a head of short, icy hair and a cold expression. Boom! He landed on the ground, and the dragon person statue sensed his aura and exploded out with an incredibly terrifying aura as a 5-colored light spread out. This dragon person came from the most powerful dragon person empire, and his bloodline was at the peak of the emperor realm. He was an incredibly terrifying person. Boom! Boom! Another 2 massive explosions sounded out as 2 muscular figures giving off terrifying auras appeared in the sky. One had an elephant's head and a human's body. His skin was like jade, and his ivory teeth were like jade. He had a gentle expression and looked quite easy to get along with. The other had a lion's head and snow-white fur. The human-like lion person gave off a dignified aura, and people could not help but feel nervous. Boom! Boom! Sensing their auras, the lion person statue and elephant person statue exploded out with terrifying auras, and a 5-colored light spread out. They came from the most powerful elephant person empire and lion person empire, and their bloodlines were incredibly terrifying. They were at the peak of the emperor realm and gave off powerful might. They also had terrifying talent and could cause people to feel terror. By now, the ogres, beastmen, foxes, dragon people, elephant people, and lion people were all terrifying figures whose names shook the world. Not only did the Outlander domain know their names, but the other domains also knew their names. The 6 of them caused the statues to give off 5-colored light, but no one was too surprised. They had long since known how terrifying they were, and in the new Outlander rankings, they were definitely the most dazzling geniuses. Chapter 16:27. The woman in front of them was the Naga royal race, Medusa. Not only was she bewitchingly beautiful, but her eyes also had a terrifying, petrifying ability. Medusa naturally came from the terrifying Naga Empire, and her bloodline was at the peak of the imperial bloodline. She was ranked 2nd in the Outlander domain, and she stood at the peak of the Heaven-awakened world. Medusa's expression was cold, and she did not care about the people around her as she came to the door. Boom! A Naga statue sensed the aura she gave off and exploded out with a terrifying aura, sending shockwaves out as the statue gave off an intense rainbow-colored light. Boom! The rainbow-colored light formed a rainbow-colored pillar of light that shot into the sky with terrifying power, causing the sky to tremble. The rainbow-colored light spread out in the sky, causing the heavens and earth to go through changes. Countless people felt quite shocked as they looked at the rainbow-colored light and the terrifying abnormal signs. Including the 7 people just now, there was also a trace of shock as they looked at Medusa. However, Medusa's expression was ice-cold. She did not care about anyone's gaze and directly ignored everyone. In her eyes, there was only one opponent. Only that person could arouse her interest. Suddenly, countless rays of golden light spread out in the sky, dyeing the sky golden, and a massive and noble might spread out. This caused countless people in the surroundings to feel their bodies sink. A fairy giving off intense golden light, looking like a sun, appeared in the sky. This fairy had long, golden hair, golden eyes, and a handsome appearance. He wore golden clothes, and he was the most powerful person in the Outlander race's new generation. He had the royal race's sun fairy bloodline. His fame was many times greater than anyone else's, and the other domains in the Heaven Awakened world all knew of his existence. They all viewed him with great importance because he had the Outlander race's supreme Emperor star. Just this alone was enough for countless people to view him with great importance. One could only imagine how powerful and terrifying he was. The fairy gave a trace of a smile as he landed in front of the door. Boom! A massive explosion sounded out as the fairy statue gave off a rainbow-colored light and an unparalleled power as it shot into the sky. The heavens and earth started to change as a massive emperor's might spread out. Countless people looked shocked. This was the power of someone with an emperor's star. It was simply too powerful. As expected of the most powerful person in the Outlander race's younger generation. With this kind of power, who in the Outlander domain could contend against him? At that moment, Outlander 10 College's gates opened and a feather person walked out. He announced the start of the examination and invited everyone to enter. The elf was the first to enter with a smile on his face. No one dared to walk within a kilometer of him. Then, the others entered one after another. Elsewhere, Zhao Fu had asked around about the trial and was on his way to Outlander 10 College when he was suddenly bumped into by someone. Zhao Fu looked at the handsome-looking kobold with a human face in dissatisfaction. The kobold youth laughed in embarrassment. "I'm sorry. Outlander 10 College's test is about to begin, and I was too anxious just now." Hearing this, Zhao Fu did not pay too much attention to it. He nodded and continued walking forward. Seeing that Zhao Fu was also heading in that direction, the kobold young man asked curiously, "Brother, are you also participating in the test?" Zhao Fu did not look back and lightly nodded. The kobold smiled and put his hand on Zhao Fu's shoulder as he said, "Brother, let's go together. We'll team up. I'm a prince of the Kobold Kingdom, so perhaps I can help you." Zhao Fu frowned and calmly replied, "Not interested." The kobold young man did not mind and laughed as he said, "Don't be so cold. Also, let's hurry up. The test has already begun, and the people at the back will have to wait longer. Let's run together." After saying this, the kobold young man did not even ask Zhao Fu for permission before pulling Zhao Fu and running towards Outlander 10 College. Zhao Fu wanted to struggle free, but he felt that there was no need. He had to get to Outlander 10 College as soon as possible. By the time Zhao Fu and the kobold young man arrived, there was a flood of people flooding into Outlander 10 College. The kobold young man pulled Zhao Fu and squeezed into the crowd. It was not easy being squeezed here and there, while the kobold young man pulled Zhao Fu forward. Zhao Fu felt quite helpless as he said, "Aren't you a prince of kingdom? Why don't you act like a prince? There are so many people here, so it's better to wait." The kobold young man looked quite awkward and smiled as he said, "In actuality, I'm an illegitimate child and lived on the streets since I was young. Only after my father found me did I become a prince. Also, don't worry, I'll help you squeeze in. I'm good at this. It's fortunate that you met me this time, or else you might be at the back. However, you don't need to thank me. You look quite similar to me at first glance, so we should get along quite well." Zhao Fu felt quite speechless, but hearing that he was also an illegitimate child, he felt quite moved. Seeing the countless people pouring into Outlander 10 College, the teachers on the tall building smiled and planned to enter to watch the test for the geniuses. At that moment, Zhao Fu was dragged by the kobold young man to the gates of Outlander 10 College. Boom, boom, boom. Heaven-shaking explosions sounded out as 23 of the 34 statues sensed Zhao Fu's aura and exploded out with heaven-toppling auras that swept out like a flood. Countless people felt as if they had been dragged into an abyss by a massive hand, and their souls fell into terror. Bang, bang, bang. The 23 statues gave off brilliant rainbow-colored lights and turned into pillars of light that contained terrifying power as they shot into the sky. They were like 23 rainbow-colored pillars of light that stood between the heavens and the earth. Heaven and earth power madly gathered, and the 10-colored light covered the sky, giving off an otherworldly aura and a sovereign might. The sun elves at the front, the countless people pouring into Outlander 10 College, and the people in the tall building who were about to leave all froze as they looked at the 10-colored sky in shock. What's going on? Why have there been 23 10-colored pillars of light? Also, what is the power that has been revealed in the sky that overrides everything? Countless people felt massive waves in their hearts and felt quite confused. They had never thought that such a thing would happen, and they had never seen or heard of such a thing before. Zhao Fu looked at the statues and suddenly remembered that there would be abnormal movements. As such, he immediately hid his aura, and the terrifying abnormal signs gradually disappeared. Chapter 16:28. The calmest elderly gnome in the tall building looked at the sky in shock and said to the others, "Was that real? Were my eyes playing tricks on me?" Not only did the statues light up with 10-colored light, but 23 statues lit up at the same time. What's going on? Even the owner of the Outlander Emperor Star only caused one statue to light up with 10-colored light. How could 23 statues simultaneously light up with 10-colored light? From the statues' reactions, it was definitely caused by a single person. How could that person cause 23 statues to light up? Something like this has never happened before. The fox race middle-aged man said seriously, "To be able to cause 23 statues to simultaneously light up, there's only one possibility, which is that person has the bloodlines of 23 different races. However, how could a person have 23 different bloodlines? Even if there was such a person, how could he cause the statues to light up with 10-colored light? That light is something that only an Outlander Emperor Star can cause." The elegant-looking woman looked down at the flood-like crowd and said, "Hurry up and take a look. Can you see who caused the statues to light up? If we can find that person, we can immediately bring him to see the dean. Even the dean would be delighted to see such a heaven-defying person and would definitely take him as a legacy disciple. Outlander 10 College might become the leader of the 7 great colleges because of him." The chubby bear person elder looked down at the crowd and shook his head as he said, "There are too many people. It's impossible to tell who it is. That person has completely hidden his aura. However, we don't need to be too anxious. Even if he wants to hide his identity, he will most likely reveal it in the following examination. I'm looking forward to seeing just what kind of terrifying existence he is." The fox race middle-aged man felt quite confused as he said, "However, at such a crucial time, how could such a terrifying person appear? I feel that the King of Kings prophecy is about to be fulfilled. That person might be the prophesied person. He will become the second King of Kings and bring the Outlander domain's large races to glory." Hearing this, everyone felt quite excited and nodded. Even the gnome elder, who did not believe that the prophecy would be fulfilled, nodded. The chubby bear person elder smiled as he said, "After the examination, no matter what the result is, he will be a student of Outlander 10 College. When that time comes, Outlander 10 College will protect him at all costs, and he will become someone that even we cannot touch." The elegant-looking woman smiled and nodded as she said, "I suddenly thought of the rumor about the possessor of 5 Emperor Stars. It said that the possessor of 5 Emperor Stars is a peerless genius of the human race. This kind of person will sooner or later intimidate the world, and his name will shake the world." People from today and in the future will also know of his existence, and he will become an existence that countless people look up to. There is absolutely no one in the world who can match up to him. I was worried about how the Outlander race would deal with such a terrifying figure appearing in the human race. Now, I feel that the person in the prophecy will become the Outlander race's most dazzling genius and the new King of Kings. He should be able to rival that person with 5 Emperor stars. After walking into Outlander 10 College, the Sun Elves and other geniuses all looked up at the sky with serious expressions. Now that such a terrifying person had appeared, they felt an indescribable sense of pressure. They understood that this test would be incredibly bitter, and they did not dare to be careless or look down on everyone else. They had wanted to go back and take a look to see just what kind of terrifying person that person was. However, after hearing that that person had not appeared, they could only give up on that thought. Of course, they also knew that the frightening person would definitely show himself in the upcoming test. In front of Outlander 10 College, countless people looked around, wanting to know who had caused the statues to react. There were also countless cries of shock and confusion. Heavens! Do you know who caused the statues to react? 23 statues giving off light at the same time. I was almost scared to death. I also want to know who that friend is. He has such terrifying power. How about we become friends? If not, I can be his servant. That person actually didn't show himself just now. He's still mixed in with us. I feel that we have some face to have such a terrifying person among us ordinary people. That person is too low-key, but I like it. That's right. That group of top-tier geniuses just now were all incomparably arrogant. They directly ignored and even looked down on us. I've been feeling displeased since a long time ago. Brother, come out and let us admire you. The people in the surroundings all stopped, looking around or talking to each other. The noise was a little noisy, and the scene was also very chaotic. The kobold young man grasped this opportunity and pulled Zhao Fu into Outlander 10 College. He then turned and smiled as he said, "Look, don't you think I'm very powerful?" Zhao Fu shook off his hand and nodded lightly. The kobold young man happily laughed before asking, "Brother, do you know what just happened? This is the first time I've seen 23 statues reacting at the same time, and I've never heard of it either. Brother, you're experienced and knowledgeable, so you should know about it, right?" Zhao Fu's expression was calm as he shook his head. He naturally would not tell him that it was him who had caused the statues to react. The kobold young man felt quite disappointed and started a chat with Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu found out that his name was Go Yin, and Zhao Fu told him that his name was Mo Yi, which was a name he had used in the demon domain. After the two of them entered Outlander 10 College, they followed the crowd to a large, empty area where there were many platforms. These platforms were 10,000 meters wide, and the ground was made of white jade. They were 2 meters tall, and there was a statue at the center. The statues on each platform were different, and they were all of different races. They were 100 meters tall and seemed to be made of jade, and they gave off powerful auras. Those who participated in the trial had to stand on the platforms and participate in the first trial, which was the most basic trial. Each platform could accept 10,000 people at most, and there were only dozens of platforms. There were millions of people participating, so they were split into many batches. There were Outlander 10 College's guards here, and they sent countless people up to the platforms to take the test. Zhao Fu and Go Yin had entered relatively early, so they were in the first batch. As for those geniuses who could make the statues give off orange light, they would not need to take the test and could directly proceed to the next stage. Chapter 1629. Hundreds of thousands of people stood on the stages, and magic formations were activated, causing the ground to shine with rays of light. The statues at the center gave off powerful lights, as if they had come to life, and they exploded out with terrifying might. The scene was quite grand, but there were almost no people watching because countless people were looking at those geniuses. Many people looked down on those people who could not even cause the statues to give off violet light. Even if these people were lucky enough to pass, they would fail in the later stages. Even if they were Outlander 10 College's disciples, they could only be counted as ordinary disciples. Ordinary disciples were incredibly terrifying existences in the eyes of ordinary people, but those major figures completely ignored them. Zhao Fu and Go Yin went to a stage where there was a dragon person statue that exploded out with terrifying power. Everyone felt a massive dragon's might weigh down on their bodies, causing their bodies to sink and their expressions to become unsightly. Some people even collapsed to the ground, and those who collapsed to the ground were naturally eliminated. Boom! A few minutes later, the dragon person statue once again exploded out with an even more powerful dragon's might, which turned into a formless force field that weighed down on everyone's bodies. At that moment, even more people collapsed to the ground. Goyin also felt a trace of pressure, and his expression became serious as he circulated his power to resist that might. As for Zhao Fu, he seemed completely fine and continued to stand on the stage. This was because this sort of might did not give Zhao Fu any pressure at all. Zhao Fu's divine bloodline could greatly weaken this might, and there was also Zhao Fu's Dragon Emperor constitution and power. The dragon person statue was a type of dragon, so the dragon's might naturally would not affect Zhao Fu. The dragon person statue had a smile on its face as it looked at the many people who had fallen. In actuality, the dragon person statue was not an inanimate object. There was a complete dragon person soul within it, and the magic formation was controlled by it. Seeing that those people could not withstand its might, the dragon person statue felt quite proud. As the guardian spirit of the first stage, the dragon person statue liked to bully ordinary people, and it did not feel any fear. After all, those with status did not participate in the first stage. A bunch of trash. You can't even endure this bit of might and want to participate in Outlander 10 College's examination. Dragon Person's Eye said mockingly as he stood at the center of the plaza. These words made many people feel quite displeased and angry, but they did not dare to say anything. After all, the dragon person was a guardian spirit, and offending him would not end well. Looking at the fearful looks on those people's faces, the dragon man felt even more delighted, and his tone became even more insolent. A bunch of trash, continue to endure my pressure. All of you, lie on the ground and beg for mercy. Boom! An even more terrifying might exploded out from the dragon person's body, giving off a massive explosion. The might heavily weighed down on everyone's bodies, causing the air to become slightly heavier. The expressions of the people who felt this pressure became somewhat unsightly. They did their best to resist, and some people could not hold on any longer and fell to the ground. In actuality, the weakest of the people participating in the examination were at the Saint Realm. In the outer domains, they would be very powerful people, but in the inner domains, they were like ants. This dragon person statue's power was at least at the world realm. On this stage, city lord seals, nation armaments, and other support items could not be used, and one could only rely on their own strength. Seeing many more people fall, the dragon person statue wildly laughed. Ha, a bunch of useless trash. Hurry up and scram. With your weak strength, it's impossible for you to enter Outlander 10 College. At that moment, a wild-looking young man unhappily called out, "You're the trash. If you have the guts, use your might again. Do you think your elder will be afraid of you?" A coarse-looking big man was also infuriated by the dragon person statue's words. "Bastard, continue using your might. I'm a young lord of a tribe, and I was just being polite to you. I'm not afraid of you, so don't go too far." A beautiful woman who gave off an arrogant aura said coldly, "You'd best watch your mouth. We won't allow you to humiliate us as you please." A young man with a pair of rabbit ears said angrily, "We're not trash. Your words are too harsh. We're not weak at all in our own faction, so don't speak to us like that." The dragon person statue looked at them condescendingly and said, "You people from small factions dare to speak like that in front of Outlander 10 College? Outlander 10 College can sweep through you with a single finger. As for calling you trash, was that wrong?" Boom! A massive aura swept out, and right after the dragon person statue finished speaking, it exploded out with an even more powerful aura, and an even greater might covered the surroundings. Under this might, everyone's expressions fell. This might was twice as strong as before. Ha! Now you know fear, right? Do you still dare to speak like before? You asked for it. The dragon person statue wildly laughed as he said to the people who had just provoked him. The people's faces became pale, and cold sweat covered their bodies as they did their best to endure. They glared at the dragon person statue and did not say anything because they felt a massive pressure. If this went on, they might not be able to endure it. Goyen looked quite troubled, and cold sweat covered his face as he endured this massive might. He turned and saw that Zhao Fu seemed to be completely fine and was standing there casually. He could not help but say, "Mo Yi, I knew you were powerful. You were able to endure such terrifying mights so easily. I knew you were powerful. You were actually able to endure such terrifying mights so easily." Zhao Fu said calmly, "It's not that I'm powerful. It's just that this might isn't very powerful." Hearing this, Goyen felt quite discouraged and awkwardly laughed. In actuality, he had found that Zhao Fu was not simple at all. Seeing their reactions, the smile on the dragonoid person's face grew even wider. However, he happened to hear the conversation between Zhao Fu and Goyen, and his smile froze. As the guardian spirit, his body was connected to the venue through a formation, so he knew the venue like the back of his hand. He could sense even the slightest movement, so he could hear Zhao Fu's words clearly. This made the dragon person feel quite angry, and he glared at Zhao Fu as he said loudly, "Brat, you're just a harmony realm cultivator, yet you're even more arrogant than them. How dare you say that my pressure is too weak?" The dragon person was just a world realm statue. If he could use his nation armament, who knew how many Zhao Fu would be able to kill? Even though he could not use his nation armament, Zhao Fu did not fear the dragon person. Chapter 1630. When dragon person heard Zhao Fu's words, he felt incredibly angry, and when he heard Zhao Fu say that he was shameless, flames of fury rushed to his head as he yelled, "Brat, you asked for it. Trash, accept the final test." Boom! Countless traces of heaven and earth power flowed into the dragon person's body, and an even greater power exploded out, forming a massive might that landed on countless people's bodies. Dragon Man had already used the power of the heaven-earth realm, causing the air to become extremely heavy. There were originally a few thousand people standing on the platform, but now all of them collapsed to the ground. Only a few hundred people managed to get off the city of hardship. Goyen's legs were trembling, and his entire body was covered in sweat. He gritted his teeth and persisted. This was practically the limit of what he could endure. Zhao Fu also felt a heavy might weighing down on his body, but his divine bloodline and Dragon Emperor bloodline had mostly dissolved this pressure. It was only a small portion, so Zhao Fu was able to easily endure it. The dragon person ignored the countless people in the surroundings and looked at Zhao Fu. Seeing how relaxed Zhao Fu was, he was slightly surprised and could not understand how Zhao Fu could withstand his might so easily. However, he was still angry and thought to himself, "I refuse to believe that this brat can easily withstand the full-powered pressure of a world realm expert." Boom! An explosion sounded out as an even more powerful might landed on everyone's bodies, causing the air to seem to freeze. Half of the hundreds of people on the platform collapsed, and the remaining people let out loud shouts, erupting with all their strength to resist the pressure. Goyen also exploded out with his power, and a yellow aura flame burst forth around his body, giving off immense power as he resisted that might. Zhao Fu's body sank as he used his own power to defend, and his expression became cold as he said, "You've already broken the rules." Before this, Zhao Fu had obtained all the information about the trial. The dragon person had released all of the world realm's power, which was clearly not allowed. It had exceeded the rules. Hearing Zhao Fu's words, the dragon person laughed loudly and said, "I naturally know the rules, But there are also rules that if someone with great talent appears, the difficulty can be increased. Now, I'm sure that you're that person with great talent. Boy, are you as relaxed as before? Are you afraid now? Apologize to me now, and I'll let you off this time. Otherwise, you'll be in for a good time. Zhao Fu frowned and said with a cold expression, "You're going too far." The dragon person loudly laughed. "I'm the guardian spirit, so what if I'm going too far? Now that I've determined that you have a higher talent, the difficulty will continue to increase. Now, tremble in fear." Right after he said that, the dragonoid being laughed heartily and channeled the power of the world into his body, about to unleash an even more powerful might. The violet dragon eye flashed with a violet light as it used the violet sky dragon star's power, and Qi, Zhao Fu, and Zhao Fu, Zhao Fu dragon, the Fu released in the dragon was. The violet dragon eye flashed with violet light as it used the violet sky dragon star's power, and it did not contain any emotion as it coldly looked at the dragon person. Just as the dragon person was about to explode out with his might, he felt a boundless coldness flood over, instantly inundating his body. No matter if it was his bloodline or soul, he felt an intense terror, and he powerlessly lay on the ground as he looked at Zhao Fu's left eye flickering with violet light. From the terror that came from his soul and bloodline, this person seemed to have supreme dragon race power, or else he would not have given off such a terrifying feeling. "Are you afraid now?" Zhao Fu coldly looked at the dragon person and gave off a formless might. His voice was also incredibly dignified, as if he was a sovereign. Yes, sir, this lowly one was blind just then. Please forgive me, sir," the dragon person hurriedly said as he lay on the ground in fear. Everyone in the surroundings let out a sigh of relief because the might from the dragon person had dissipated, and they all felt much more relaxed. However, all of them were still looking at the scene before them in shock. The arrogant dragonoid was now lying on the ground in fear, fearful of the cloaked man who didn't seem to be anything special. Just who was this person? What kind of power did he have? How could he make the dragon person act like this? Goyin looked at Zhao Fu with wide eyes and felt that he had underestimated Zhao Fu's identity and power. Even though Zhao Fu was standing next to him, he felt as if he was untouchable. Zhao Fu did not mind everyone's gazes and said coldly, "Have I passed the test?" Dragonborn hurriedly replied, "Yes," but he did not understand. With Zhao Fu's power, he did not need to participate in this trial at all. So why was he still participating? Moreover, he had mixed in with the crowd and acted like an ordinary person. Zhao Fu did not say anything else and walked to the side. Goyin smiled as he went up and put his hand on Zhao Fu's shoulder as he said, "Mo Yi, tell me the truth. Tell me the truth. Who are you exactly? I refuse to believe that you're a different person." Hearing this, Zhao Fu's expression did not change much, and he said, "I'm just an ordinary person." The four people who had been provoking the dragon person looked at each other and smiled as they said, "Sir, who are you and where are you from? Would it be possible for us to get to know you?" In their eyes, Zhao Fu's identity was filled with mystery and far surpassed theirs. If they could get to know such a person, it would be of great help in the future. However, Zhao Fu was quite cold towards the four people who had come up and said, "Apologies, I'm not interested." The four people looked quite awkward. With their status, they would not try to curry favor with someone like this. However, Zhao Fu had the right to do so, and since they could not communicate with Zhao Fu, the four people looked over at Goyin and started to converse with each other as they shamelessly followed behind Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu did not mind and went to the second test. There were many stages here, and the ground was also made of jade. However, they were not very big, only 1 meter tall and 20 meters wide. There were no statues at the center of the stages, but there was an oval mirror that was as tall as a person. The mirror was called the replication mirror, and as long as a person stood in front of the mirror would replicate that person. However, the person's strength and abilities would be slightly weaker than the original person's, because some things could not be replicated. There were over 10,000 stages here, and people had to go up one by one to take the test. Those who could activate the violet gold light from the statues could directly go to the next stage and did not have to pass the test here. There were some people looking around because those who could activate the violet gold light from the statues had to take the test. Even though they had not activated the violet gold light, they were still very powerful geniuses. Chapter 16:31. There was already a long line here because there were only 10,000 or so people participating. Moreover, the battles with the replicas could not be finished in an instant. Zhao Fu looked around and walked to a shorter line. He waited, and the others followed behind Zhao Fu. People went up to the stage and came in front of the mirror. A magic formation was activated on the ground, causing the stage to give off boundless light. The mirror also gave off intense light as replicas walked out of the mirror. Following this, the real person and the replicas started to fight. After some replicas were defeated, they would turn into countless pieces and dissipate. If the real person was defeated, they would have to go to the bottom of the stage, and the replicas would not attack. Time gradually passed, and a young man destroyed the replicas with a punch. He passed the test and walked forwards to participate in the next test. After a few more people, it was Zhao Fu's turn. When it was a young man's turn, a tall barbarian cut in from the side and said in a barbaric manner, "All of you piss off. I'm going to take the test first." This act of cutting in line immediately caused everyone to feel quite displeased. Someone called out, "Who do you think you are? We've been lining up for so long and haven't gone up yet. Do you think we'll take the test just because you say so?" Someone else said, "That's right. Just go and line up, or else I won't wait in line either. Why do you have to cut in line?" Someone else said, "That's right. Who do you think you are? You don't have to line up?" Hearing these words, the barbarian furiously exploded out with a powerful aura as he said to the people who had spoken, "Your grandpa can make the statue give off orange light, and I'm not like trash like you. Your grandpa naturally has special privileges. If you're not convinced, come and spar with me. Your grandpa will crush your head." The aura that the barbarian gave off was incredibly ferocious and powerful, causing everyone to feel quite afraid. Under this barbarian's might, the expressions of the people who had spoken became quite unsightly. Under this barbarian's might, they did not dare to say anything. There was a supervisor near the stage, and he looked over but did not intend to do anything. After all, the Outlanders believed in the law of the jungle, and the strong were respected. It had been mentioned many times before that the strong had special privileges. Looking at how cowardly the people were, the barbarian loudly laughed and walked forwards. Someone suddenly left the line and stood in front of the barbarian, obviously trying to cut him in line. This caused the barbarian man to shout angrily, "F***CK? Who are you, brat? How dare you interrupt me? Scram right now, or else I won't go easy on you." Everyone was surprised. Zhao Fu actually dared to cut in front of the barbarian. Was he not afraid of the barbarian? Zhao Fu was very dissatisfied with the act of cutting the line. He had been lining up honestly, so why did others cut the line? Zhao Fu walked to the front and cut the line in front of the barbarians. Hearing the barbarians' words, Zhao Fu said calmly, "Why can you cut the line, but I can't?" The barbarian roared, "You're the one courting death." After speaking, the barbarian ferociously punched out, bringing with it a terrifying fist energy as it flew towards Zhao Fu, seeming to be able to shatter boulders. Bang! A muffled explosion sounded out as Zhao Fu did not attack. He only glanced at the barbarian, and a formless energy sent the barbarian flying back. The barbarian flew back 10 or so meters, and a trace of blood leaked out of his mouth. He looked at Zhao Fu, and his expression became quite unsightly. He understood that he was not a match for Zhao Fu. At that moment, a few young men with extraordinary bearings passed by, and one of them, a golden-haired young man, said disdainfully, "A battle between two weaklings is quite displeasing. Not only have they tarnished this prince's eyes, but they've also disrupted the order." A handsome man in green clothes condescendingly laughed as he said, "The world of the weak is just like this, chaotic, lowly, and warlike. They think that they're very powerful just because they have some power, but in reality, they're just slightly bigger ants. Ha ha ha, you two are quite bored. It's just two pieces of trash playing house, and yet you two care. We're people who are above them, so why do we care about these pieces of trash? A tall young man said as he loudly laughed. A fair-skinned young man also laughed as he said, "All right, don't mind these pitiful people. We're people who have awakened the violet gold light, so we can't lower ourselves and compete with these people. Let's go to the next stage and take the test." The golden-haired young man laughed as he replied, "That's right. There's indeed no need for us to stay here." That sound just then attracted my attention, or else my eyes would not have been drawn to these pieces of trash. They did not hide their words at all, and everyone present heard them. They felt quite displeased and angry, but they could not say anything. It was evident that these people were not only more powerful than them, but their talent was also greater, and their statuses were also more terrifying. They were not existences that they could offend. The three others lightly laughed and prepared to walk forwards. However, in the next moment, a figure appeared in front of them. Even though Zhao Fu wanted to keep a low profile, facing these people's mocking, he could not take it anymore. The tall young man condescendingly laughed as he said, "You still dare to stand in our way? I'll give you a chance. Kneel and kowtow to us to let you off, or else we'll attack." Bang! Zhao Fu did not say anything and directly appeared in front of the young man and punched out with terrifying power. The tall young man's expression slightly changed, and he also vigorously punched out. Bang! A muffled explosion sounded out as the two fists collided with terrifying power, causing a powerful shockwave to ripple out. Zhao Fu took 2 steps back, while the young man took 4 steps back. Right now, Zhao Fu could only use his Harmony Realm power, while the young man's cultivation was at the Great Earth Realm. Moreover, his constitution was very powerful. Anyone who could awaken the violet gold light was not a weakling. The young man's expression was quite unsightly, because just then, Zhao Fu had only taken 2 steps back, while he had taken 4 steps back. It was evident that he was not a match for him. The golden-haired young man could not help but laugh as he said, "Xiong Zhang, could it be that you can't beat him? If this matter were to be spread, it would be very embarrassing." The tall young man laughed as he explained, "Just then, he launched a sneak attack, and I was unable to react in time. Now he dares to attack me? Watch how I break his arms and legs and make him beg for mercy." Boom! Chapter 1632. Swish! The tall young man instantly appeared in front of Zhao Fu and punched out, his fist covered with a green aura flame. As he punched out, the air seemed to explode as a terrifying fist energy blasted toward Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu's expression did not change. He had not used his full strength just then and had just tested these people's strength. As expected, they could not be underestimated and were many times stronger than people of the same cultivation. Facing the young man's attack, Zhao Fu also exploded out with a terrifying aura. A black aura flame appeared around his body, causing a wild gale to blow out. The ground was unable to withstand it and started to crack. The tall young man's expression fell. Zhao Fu's aura surpassed his, and he could not believe it. He was many times stronger than ordinary Great Earth Realm people. So how could a Harmony Realm cultivator's aura surpass his? Bang! The young man could not react. Zhao Fu vigorously punched out, causing a massive wave of power to flood out and hit the young man's chest, sending him flying dozens of meters away and causing him to cough up a large mouthful of blood. Everything had happened too quickly, and no one could react in time as they stared at the scene in front of them. The 3 young men had never thought that the tall young man would lose to someone like Zhao Fu, and they felt quite embarrassed. It was as if a prince had lost to a beggar. The tall young man's expression was quite unsightly as he crashed to the ground. He understood that he was not a match for Zhao Fu. The power that Zhao Fu had just released was simply too terrifying, and it felt as if no one could stop it. Zhao Fu was expressionless as he looked at the 3 young men because they were also mocking him. Seeing Zhao Fu look at them, the golden-haired young man angrily glared at Zhao Fu and said, "Ho, could it be that you want to attack all of us together?" Swish! In the next second, Zhao Fu appeared in front of him and punched out with immense power. The golden-haired young man was given a big fright and immediately released a golden energy barrier. Bang! The terrifying fist slammed into the golden energy barrier, causing it to shatter, and Zhao Fu's fist slammed into the golden-haired young man's chest. The golden-haired youth was sent flying. The two young men beside him were startled. Following this, a terrifying force burst out from their bodies and attacked Zhao Fu from both sides. One person's fingers turned into a claw and grabbed at Zhao Fu's throat with extreme speed. However, Zhao Fu easily caught his hand and pulled it forward, sending the person flying into the air. Zhao Fu swung the person's body and smashed him into the ground. Bang! A huge sound rang out as the man's body slammed into the ground, causing the ground to crack and collapse. A crater several meters wide appeared. Another person's leg brought with it a terrifying power as it kicked towards Zhao Fu's back, and Zhao Fu turned and kicked back. A kick landed on the man's abdomen, sending him flying. In the blink of an eye, the four of them fell to the ground and looked at Zhao Fu with ugly expressions. Zhao Fu's expression was cold as he walked towards the golden-haired young man. Just then, he had been the most arrogant person. The golden-haired young man coldly harumphed and drew a golden sword. He slashed out, sending out a sharp golden crescent toward Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu grabbed at the air, and the sadistic killing sword appeared in his hand. He also slashed out, sending out a blood-red sword light that shattered the golden crescent and continued towards the golden-haired young man. The golden-haired young man was given a big fright and dodged to the side, avoiding that attack. However, at that moment, Zhao Fu once again slashed out, sending out a blood-red sword light that flashed through the air. The terrifying sword energy sent the golden-haired young man flying back. The three other people looked furious as they took out their weapons and gave off terrifying auras as they attacked Zhao Fu from three directions behind Zhao Fu. One person held a spear, the spearhead giving off a cold light as he vigorously stabbed out, sending out a terrifying spear energy that tore through the air. Another person held a large saber and roared as he vigorously slashed out an enormous saber light, seeming to want to split the ground in half. Another person held a sharp sword and vigorously slashed out, sending out a thin arc of light, giving off sharp power toward Zhao Fu. Sensing the attacks from the three people behind him, Zhao Fu gave a trace of a cold smile and sent large amounts of power into the sadistic killing sword. The sadistic killing sword gave off an intense sword light, and a savage and monstrous sword intent spread out, causing countless people's hearts to feel a chill. Boom! Zhao Fu spun and slashed out, sending out an enormous blood-red sword light giving off destructive power. It sent the three people flying back dozens of meters, and they coughed up mouthfuls of blood. Their chests were covered with blood, and their auras became weak. Shing! A sword hum suddenly sounded out as the golden-haired young man rushed up, his sword giving off a ray of light as he stabbed toward Zhao Fu's throat. Zhao Fu coldly harumphed and vigorously kicked out, sending the golden-haired young man flying. The golden-haired young man crashed to the ground and tried to get up, but Zhao Fu went up and stepped on his head, causing his face to touch the ground. If you have the guts, say what you just said one more time. Who's trash, and who's lowly? Zhao Fu looked at the golden-haired young man as he coldly laughed. The golden-haired young man furiously looked at Zhao Fu and cried out, "You dare to treat me like this? You're dead. I'm the prince of an imperial kingdom. The imperial kingdom will definitely make you die a horrible death." Zhao Fu condescendingly laughed and vigorously stepped on the golden-haired young man's head as he said, "Is that so? So what? Can your imperial kingdom slaughter its way into Outlander 10 College? I'm afraid you're going to die a horrible death." The golden-haired young man hatefully looked at Zhao Fu and roared, "I won't let you off. I'll return the humiliation today to you 10 times over. I'll make you even more humiliated and live in pain." Zhao Fu coldly harumphed and raised his foot, preparing to stomp down and crush the young man's head. However, at that moment, a gaze looked over. It It was from the person in charge of the platform. Even though Outlander 10 College did not prohibit fighting, it strictly prohibited killing. If Zhao Fu wanted to kill someone, the person in charge would definitely stop him, and it was possible that Zhao Fu would lose the right to take the test. As such, Zhao Fu did not stomp down and instead vigorously kicked out. The golden-haired young man howled as he was sent flying and fainted on the ground. Zhao Fu turned to look at the other 3 people lying on the ground. They looked at Zhao Fu in fear and did not dare to do anything. Zhao Fu did not do anything and walked back to his group. Seeing how savage Zhao Fu was, the people around him all retreated and opened up a path. The ferocious-looking barbarian laughed as he said, "Brother, I'll give it to you. If you have the ability to beat up those people, I'll help you find a good spot. You can go up to the platform to take the test." Zhao Fu calmly nodded and went up to the platform. Chapter 1633. After standing on the stage, Zhao Fu came to the mirror and felt quite curious to see just how much of his power the mirror could copy. A magic formation on the stage was activated and boundless light spread out. The magic formation slowly spun as spirit chi from the surroundings flowed into the stage, and the mirror on the stage gave off light that shined on Zhao Fu's body. Zhao Fu felt a type of power enter his body, and it was most likely the mirror's power that was trying to copy his power. However, the mirror sensed the terrifying powers within Zhao Fu's body, making it so that it was unable to copy his power. The light quickly dimmed, and the magic formation stopped. This caused everyone to feel quite startled, and they could not understand what was going on. It seemed that the mirror was unable to copy Zhao Fu's power, but ordinary people's mirrors could copy their bodies, so why could it not copy Zhao Fu? However, thinking about what had just happened, everyone understood. Didn't this prove that Zhao Fu was not an ordinary person? The middle-aged man looked quite startled and went up to fix the mirror, but he found that it was not broken. It was just that the mirror was unable to copy Zhao Fu. However, the middle-aged man quickly took out a 4-meter-tall oval mirror and placed it in front of Zhao Fu as he said, "Give it a try." Hearing this, Zhao Fu came before the mirror, and the magic formation on the stage was once again activated, giving off boundless light. Countless traces of spirit energy flowed into the stage, and the mirror gave off an intense light that was twice as intense as the previous mirror. The light covered Zhao Fu and entered Zhao Fu's body. After sensing Zhao Fu's divine bloodline and terrifying power, the light quickly dimmed. It was still unable to be copied. The middle-aged man looked quite shocked and looked at Zhao Fu. He thought of something and took out a 9-meter-tall oval mirror. This mirror was made from precious spirit wood, and its aura and power could not be compared to the previous 2 mirrors. "Try it again." The middle-aged man continued to speak to Zhao Fu. At that moment, Zhao Fu felt even more curious. He wanted to see if the mirror could replicate the divine bloodline and other terrifying powers, such as the 6 paths of reincarnation power, demon lord power, dragon emperor power, or pure killing sword intent. Boom. The magic formation on the stage was once again activated, giving off intense light. The aura it gave off was many times more powerful than before, and countless traces of heaven and earth spirit chi flooded into it. A terrifying power flowed into the mirror. The 9-meter-tall mirror gave off a shocking aura and gave off tens of thousands of rays of light. The people on the other platforms all looked over, wondering what was going on. The mirror gave off boundless light that covered Zhao Fu's body and contained great power as it continuously flowed into Zhao Fu's body. This mirror was indeed different from the other 2 mirrors. Not only was it more powerful, but after sensing Zhao Fu's divine bloodline, as well as all sorts of monstrous powers, it did not retreat. It still wanted to seep into Zhao Fu's body and duplicate that power. Boom! An explosion sounded out as the magic formation on the stage quickly activated. Even more heaven and earth power flowed into the stage, and the stage sent this massive amount of power into the mirror. The aura and light that the mirror gave off became even more powerful. Using this massive amount of power, the mirror's light continuously flowed into Zhao Fu's body, continuously trying to duplicate Zhao Fu's power. Kacha! A crisp sound rang out, and a crack appeared on the mirror. Then, more and more cracks appeared. Finally, the mirror shattered and fell to the ground. Seeing this, the middle-aged man felt quite shocked. This mirror was incredibly high-grade, and it was specially made for special existences. It could even duplicate a peak sovereign bloodline. However, not only was the mirror unable to duplicate Zhao Fu, but it had also shattered. Everyone could not help but cry out. They had never thought that such a thing would happen. The aura that the mirror had given off had been incredibly powerful, and everyone had thought that it would be able to duplicate Zhao Fu's power. They had never thought that it would shatter. This was the first time they had seen something like this, and they had never heard of such a thing before. The only possible reason for this was that Zhao Fu had an unimaginably terrifying item that could not be duplicated. Just how terrifying was Zhao Fu? Everyone felt that Zhao Fu's freedom was simply too shocking, and now he was even more mysterious. Zhao Fu was wearing a black cloak, so no one knew what he looked like. Everyone started to guess just who Zhao Fu was and where he came from. Countless people were filled with curiosity. The middle-aged man secretly reported this to the higher-ups, telling the higher-ups of the college to keep an eye on Zhao Fu. Perhaps he was a peerless genius hiding in the crowd. In actuality, the middle-aged man knew that not everyone liked to show off and let the whole world know about them. Some truly terrifying geniuses like to keep a low profile and blend in with the crowd, not revealing their strength. Such people were often quite terrifying. In the past, there had been many geniuses like this, such as the second-ranked person in the previous Outlander tournament. At first, he seemed quite ordinary, but in the end, he suddenly revealed terrifying power and defeated 10 or so peerless geniuses, shaking the world. You don't need to take the test anymore. In his eyes, Zhao Fu would become a major figure in Outlander 10 College in the future. Zhao Fu nodded and walked forwards before thinking of something and saying to Go Yin, "Hurry up." Go Yin looked delighted. Zhao Fu had acknowledged him as a friend. In actuality, after seeing Zhao Fu's terrifying power and identity, Go Yin felt that the gap between him and Zhao Fu was simply too great, so he did not want to bother Zhao Fu any longer. However, this pleasant surprise came too quickly. Go Yin smiled as he walked up to the stage and stood in front of the mirror. This time, as expected, a person that looked exactly the same as him appeared in the mirror. After the clone appeared, it drew its saber and slashed at Go Yin. Apart from the clone's equipment was also duplicated. Of course, these duplicates were not as powerful as the original, and they could only exist for a short period of time. Even though the clone's power and equipment were slightly disadvantageous, it was familiar with the original's actions and thoughts. As such, the clone knew all of the attacks that the original would unleash, so it could prepare in advance. Chapter 1634. Go Yan's saber slashed towards the clone, but the clone easily dodged it and retaliated, leaving a gash on his abdomen. Blood flowed out of the wound, dyeing his clothes blood red. Go Yin clutched his wound and looked at the clone with an unsightly expression. The clone did not have any emotions, and its expression was cold as it once again attacked. It slashed towards Go Yin, while Go Yin roared and rushed up. Clang, clang, clang. Their sabers continuously clashed, causing sparks to fly everywhere. On the surface, it seemed like the clone had the upper hand, and the situation was quite disadvantageous for Go Yin. At that moment, the clone slashed out, sending out a saber light towards Go Yin. Go Yin dodged to the side, but the clone had expected this and sent Go Yin flying with a kick, causing him to cough up a large mouthful of blood. After crashing to the ground, Go Yin had a savage look on his face. He thought about how he had been bullied in the past, how he had been treated coldly in the palace, and how he had been mocked and humiliated. Go Yin roared as a powerful aura exploded out from his body, sending out a massive gale as he charged at the clone. Go Yin gripped his saber with both hands and sent large amounts of power into it, causing the saber to give off a sharp saber light. Go Yin rushed up and ferociously attacked the clone, continuously hacking out with the saber. His expression was savage, and he no longer looked like he had before. Zhao Fu was quite startled. He had thought that Go Yin was a cheerful and friendly person, and he had never thought that he would have such a side to him. Bang! Under such ferocious and irregular attacks, the clone was unable to predict Go Yan's next move and was at a disadvantage. In the end, its body was cut into pieces and turned into motes of light before disappearing from the stage. The person in charge announced that Go Yin had passed the test. Go Yin gave a difficult smile and came to the path ahead. He apologetically smiled at Zhao Fu and said, "I was a bit useless. Sorry for making you wait." Zhao Fu lightly nodded. Seeing how crazy Go Yin had been, he could not help but ask, "Do you really want to pass Outlander 10 College's test?" Go Yin nodded with a resolute gaze and said, "I want to prove that I'm not trash and that I'm not inferior to anyone in the kingdom. I'll definitely do what my big brothers and sisters haven't been able to do and let everyone in the kingdom see me." Zhao Fu looked at Go Yin for a while and said, "You should focus on healing your injuries. There's still a test to pass." Hearing this, Go Yin nodded with a smile. He sat cross-legged on the ground, swallowed a medicinal pill, and began to treat his injuries. At that moment, Zhao Fu lightly cut open his middle finger and forced out a drop of pure essence blood. He sent a large amount of his power into it before controlling it and sending it into Go Yan's forehead. Go Yan's eyes were closed as he healed himself. Feeling the blood enter his body, Go Yan's body trembled, and he opened his eyes and looked at Zhao Fu. He could not understand why Zhao Fu had suddenly fused a drop of essence blood into his body, and with such speed and power, he did not even have a chance to think. Zhao Fu did not say much and only said, "It will be of some help to you in the future. Focus on fusing with it." Only then did Go Yin understand that Zhao Fu was helping him, and he said gratefully, "Thank you." Following this, Go Yin once again closed his eyes and healed his injuries while fusing with Zhao Fu's powerful drop of essence blood. The 4 people who had been following behind Zhao Fu also passed the test and continued to shamelessly follow behind Zhao Fu. They felt that they were determined to rely on Zhao Fu, this big tree. Zhao Fu did not pay too much attention to them, and after Go Yin recovered, he continued on to the next stage. At the end of this path was a white fog that was incredibly dense. Visibility was less than 2 meters, and it felt as if one would lose their sense of direction if they entered. There were many people in front of the fog. The 3rd stage was called the illusion fog, and anyone who entered would fall into an illusion. Anyone who could resist the illusion would be able to pass the 3rd stage, which was the final stage of the 3 foundational stages. Those who gave off a 3-colored light in the 3rd stage could proceed to the final stage. Zhao Fu did not hesitate and directly walked into the dense white fog. Go Yin and the others thought about it and did not hesitate, so they followed Zhao Fu into the fog. Right after everyone entered, the white fog seemed to have a life of its own and flowed towards Zhao Fu and the others. In just an instant, only Zhao Fu was left, and everyone else seemed to have disappeared. The fog continued to flow towards Zhao Fu, continuously weakening Zhao Fu's mind, wanting to pull Zhao Fu into an illusion. However, with Zhao Fu's divine bloodline and heaven's senses, the fog's effects were quite weak. However, the fog evidently would not let Zhao Fu off so easily. The fog in the surrounding 10 or so kilometers flowed towards Zhao Fu, tightly surrounding Zhao Fu. The formless energy caused Zhao Fu to slightly see other illusions. Zhao Fu disdainfully closed his eyes and gathered a wave of power in his left eye before suddenly opening it. The glass-like pupil in his left eye spun a few times, giving off a dreamlike aura. It gave off boundless glass-like light, and the fog seemed to retreat in fear. Zhao Fu's eyes were filled with light as he looked at Zhao Fu. This glass eyeball was something that Zhao Fu had obtained after refining an extremely powerful illusion beast. It was an extremely terrifying illusion, and it was much more powerful than the fog. Now, it seemed like a child in the presence of an adult. The fog and the surroundings quickly dissipated. Zhao Fu wanted to walk forwards, but the fog automatically opened up a path, allowing Zhao Fu to easily pass the third stage. What appeared before Zhao Fu was a massive golden door that was 1,000 meters tall. There were all sorts of races engraved on it, and all of them looked incredibly lifelike. They gave off golden light and were filled with nobility, and they gave off a powerful aura and an aura of suppression. The final stage was within a secret realm, and this golden door was the door to the secret realm. Within the secret realm, one could obtain points by killing all sorts of creatures. Once one had a certain number of points, one could officially become a student of Outlander 10 College, and there were all sorts of rewards within the secret realm. The person with the highest number of points would be ranked first. These points could not only be obtained by killing creatures from the secret realm, but also by defeating opponents. Anyone who defeated an opponent would obtain 1/3 of that opponent's points. Many people were waiting in front of the door, including the Sun Elf and a few others. They stood closest to the door, and there was no one around them. No one dared to get close to them. This was the formless might that a peerless genius could give off. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.